I Caesar, the number of uses of different profanities.
Yeah.
Conspiracy, femme frequency, and I Caesar, three different
Yeah, like
bags.
showing the woman. That's a 14-year-old. The nobody knew. I didn't knew that she was 14.
Who? Oh, this
That,
girl, I Caesar.
Yeah.
Oh
All right.
no!
All right. We're live, guys. So let's So I'll open it and then let's continue on then. So welcome everyone to the fourth edition of the Stoll Review Panel Show. This week I'm Robert Stoll, your host, and with me is Ian Davis.
Hello.
Um,
Sorry.
Robin Gething.
Hello.
Samantha Luna.
hello.
And do you
And Kevin Wu.
Kevin.
Yeah.
yeah.
I go by Kevin Wu, yeah.
Okay. And Kevin Wu.
Close the. Somebody's like listening to.
Yeah, someone's playing the video
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, that was me. Sorry, I have the live counter going. It's paused now.
Okay,
all right.
somebody put like underneath when somebody said that she was 14, the girl, and somebody
Yes.
put like she's 14, and I was going to put like a little picture of Chris Hansen.
You mean I Caesar on Twitter?
Yes, I was going to put
Yeah.
like a little like the typical Chris Hansen picture peeking like.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
there.
So this is what we're what we're you go ahead and if you could explain, Samantha, what this is.
This is supposedly the times. Oh,
there we go.
this is supposedly the times that it's a comparison between the Twitter user, ICCE4R, and feminist frequency and soy queen, and how many times people call them bitch, slut, whore, cunt, and dick, and it shows that this girl, which is a 14-year-old girl, and who is a little brave soldier for Gigi, actually gets a lot of threats in comparison to this other known anti-Gigi woman.
Yeah, Ice4, I knew her from one of the earlier days of Gamergate. Yeah, she's a gem.
She really is.
All she does is post love and hugs and stuff like that, and she gets so much hassle just for basically retorting to these people.
Yeah, I did. That's one of the things that we control each. We don't. It's not that we tone police each other, but we do try to maintain a certain logic that is be calm, try to be logical. While the anti-GG side, they just go crazy, and that's how you can see that. They can go. I mean, just seeing which is the blue-haired pixie.
Yeah. They'll either rattle off some very weaselly and provocative ideology or whatever that insults a vast group of people, or they will be out and out, very hostile, very harassing, and swearing like sailors on a weekend off.
Yeah.
And that's the irony too, is that most of the harassment is coming from their side towards us, and yet we're being the ones labeled.
Well, it's okay. It's all right though. It's all right. We deserve it. That's the whole point. You see, the people that we're harassing don't deserve it. We deserve that harassment.
Right.
See, because we're harassers and mean and nasty. I can understand,
Yeah.
We're all terrible misogynists.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
People.
Yeah. So it's okay to harass us.
That's right. That's exactly right. I said this in the earlier days that you've also got to remember that let's be perfectly frank. We're not none of us are whiter than white. And there are various shades of grey to every sort of group of people.
Well, especially me.
Yeah, one of the earlier points that I was trying to make was that when you see a hashtag kick off like ours has, well and truly, you generally end up attracting a lot of people who are very concerned They're very upset about the idea of all of these nasty, mean people out there, and they want to give you some what for. And you know, they're sitting there kind of thinking to themselves, well, hey, you know, stop doing that. You're rude. You're naughty. You're mean. Those sort of people. You know, we approached them and said, well, actually, we're not, and here's why. And most of those people ended up being gamergators themselves.
Yeah.
However, it does also attract people who are misogynists and are basically a little over the top when it comes to anti-social justice warrior types, and we're attracted too.
Yeah.
You know, I remember in those earlier days there was a lot of that going on, where you know I was basically saying to people sort of like, please go away. This isn't your hashtag. You know.
Yeah,
No.
we were talking about that with the worries that we have with Rush.
Yeah, Bruce V. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were a bit worried that like his involvement, and frankly, from what I hear is, and this is only from what I hear, what the chaps told me off air in the chat, that his writing can tend to be a bit misogynistic, rampantly misogynistic, along lines of he said things like women shouldn't be in colleges and that kind of thing, which is obviously utter rot in this day.
Yeah, it's not that he is misogynist, but he's ignorant about. He believes that the only way women are not going to be feminists is if they, I don't know, they are kept in the home and stupid. But what I said was that, and what I argue in
This person religious by any chance?
No, he's a gay.
Sadly, no.
So
He's
this
a PUA.
person,
He's
he's
a
an
pickup
atheist.
artist.
Well,
Yeah.
Would you say he's a pickup artist?
He is.
Well,
He is.
Yeah.
He subscribes
He
to
is.
that sort of thing.
well, and Return of Kings, which
Is that-
which I think he started or something like that, is more than masculinist. It's important to remember they are also pickup artists.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I don't really like. Yeah, I'm not. I don't.
Well, these
can't
people
condone
are there
that
to
kind of
attract
view.
us, really, are they? That's the thing. You know, we were talking a little earlier about a lot of sort of films that you may be a bit bored of, and it's like, well, it's not really there to attract you. You know, you're over 25 at this point.
Yeah.
You know, you want something a bit more cerebral in your life. I mean, you know, we don't really go out to bars and clubs and pubs to try and pick up women anymore, so we don't really need any sort of pointers. You know,
No, we certainly don't need any pointers, but the issue, at least I see with this sort of thing, is that it is it is the kind of crowd that can, I think, be reliably denoted as sexist, as seeing women as, prizes rather than,
People.
anything than people, and and trying to
Well,
dishonestly trick people. I mean, I'm not saying like their whole thing is try to get women to sleep with them through like lying rape or whatever is the newest form of rape.
Yeah.
but I must ask, have you been clubbing recently?
yeah.
I don't.
I avoid club at all costs.
I'll tell you what, you know, girls under 19 aren't people. Boys under 19, they aren't people either. You know,
No.
they're
I'm a
kids.
That
You know,
environment.
and it's just kids basically horny as hell trying to get laid. You know, so I'm a
romantic
50-50 with this. You know,
Yeah. Well, then
It's true,
Bruce
I mean,
B,
a
who's a
lot
great
of-
deal older than that, shouldn't be in these nightclubs trying to pick them up. That's not right.
Well, I actually agree, and that's why I used to read Return of Kings, some of the articles, because a lot of them were really truthful about the nature of women, especially young women, which are very superficial. And they're
young
so
women being
superficial.
superficial, never.
What? People being superficial? What is this? I mean,
No, but I
It
mean,
can happen, you know.
wait, I mean, it's not just superficial. I mean,
Well, the
if you
guys
put
as well. That's the thing. I mean, you know,
Oh, it
they're
is.
kids. Kids are superficial. They haven't really had enough. I mean, it's like, you know, who here understands the Three Little Pigs? do you think, if you say to somebody under 19 what the Three Little Pigs is, a lot of them are talking about housing,
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm a hermit. I never went to clubs. I don't like clubs. I get agoraphobic in them. I don't like people.
You
Too
don't
much
like people? What are you doing
Too
here?
much. What?
I'm a
I,
person.
Well, we might be
yes,
generalizing. Yeah, we might be generalizing slightly to say that like all teenagers are the nightclub set, because we know from
no.
experience there are plenty out there who
That's
are
the
all dressed
thing.
as furries and wandering around on Tumblr when they're not out doing
Yeah, that's the
anything
thing. The
interesting.
women that Rush refers are not women who are necessarily young. They can be like from 19 to 49, but they're still very much girls, basically.
So
Well,
Yeah,
you're
mentally
talking
anyway.
about emotionally, what's the word? Immature.
yeah.
Mm.
That's the range of women that the pickup artist tries to catch.
So
Women who are in their
essentially,
20s.
he's a male version of Anita Sarkeesian.
Why?
That
No, quite
Yes,
the opposite.
yeah, in a sense.
Because, well, Anita Sarkeesian essentially infantilizes women,
Yes.
Yeah.
And he
Oh, and that's
infantilizes.
as though they're not really capable of sort of, decent thought.
Yeah.
As though,
But I don't.
bad
Yeah,
representation means that, they suddenly are just going to be basically, wimps and useless. They have to be given all of these.
yeah. Oh, yeah. He's one of those guys who said that basically a man needs to work his ass off and then give you jewels and expensive things to women, and the only thing that women need to do is keep their beauty, while
And
men have to do
smile.
the whole work. That's the problem. I do not have a problem with the thing that he did about with he say about women, because I'm a woman, so I can just ignore guys like that. What I worry when I read those articles, and what it bothers me because I'm an MRA, is that it's basically tricking men who cannot really connect with women easily, and basically he's trying to trick them into doing things that might not work. I don't like how he basically
Yeah,
sometimes
but
lies to
at
men.
least they won't have a go at these women for this. If you imagine, a lot of guys are a bit lumbering when it comes to talking to women because they're too nervous. They need a few sort of pickup lines and a few tricks under their sleeve to make themselves feel a bit more comfortable about it.
Yeah, and I
You know?
mean,
And when those don't work, they're gonna go and complain at him.
Mm.
Yeah, it's not that just it's not the pickup. It's just not just a pickup a strategy. He also like preaches a lifestyle, and that lifestyle is very much. I don't know what I don't want to use a very MRA term, but very gynocentric.
well,
Yeah.
gynocentric. I mean,
Gynocentric.
that's a more academic word, you know.
But it's that alpha male culture,
Everything. Yeah, I really don't like this whole alpha male, beta male thing.
Mm.
Although I could like see it in a way that
They're
I
just
might
forms of
be.
categorization, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're only meaningful within a certain they're just names people are calling each other. I mean, everyone's got a bit of beta in them. Everyone's got a bit of alpha in them,
Mm.
yeah.
as such.
On this, just to steer it back to the initial subject of
Okay.
anti-SJW people in the movement, or by extension, really, even men's rights people in the movement. If we look at some of the more recent evidence, say the Gamers Plus thing, and how similar it is to
Uh-huh.
Atheism Plus, which is unavowedly a social justice movement,
Mm.
that clearly means that there is an element of social justice behind the pushing of the narrative that they're pushing, and it clearly is a social justice cause.
Yeah.
So even
Right.
above and beyond the ethics thing, we still have the issue of the reason for the ethical blunders, because they want to push political narrative. And so I would just say, generally, to that extent, then anti-SJW people and anti-feminists and that kind of thing it's unavoidable that they're going to think this is one of their issues as well, and I don't think we
Yeah.
should not share it with them.
Well,
Yeah, of
I'll,
course.
I'll can I
And
can I just sort of speak up on this particular thing because I've always been really about the journalistic ethics sort of thing,
Mm.
and
Okay.
I've done a little bit of research into this chap who did the Zoe post, and what
Yeah.
you've got to understand is that he's a bit of a social justice warrior person himself.
Of course. He fell in love with Zoe because she had his same views.
Mm. And here's the trick. What these people do is a calling out. When one of them betrays the trust of the other, when one of them is shown to be, or at least has shown themselves to be an untrustworthy person, they generally show them up to the rest of their clan. The Zoe post wasn't meant for us.
Mhm.
It wasn't meant for the gaming community at all.
Well, and I think it's important to note here as well that, I mean, Gamergate has social justice warriors as well. You know, it has a Tumblr presence and everything like that. You know, and
That would be the not your shield thing.
well, yeah, yeah, not your shield.
Well, no,
So,
well, man, I think you're falling into a fallacy of composition there, really,
Well,
because you can
I know
say
the
that
guy that
they're
started
justice
the Twitter.
warriors, but they might not view themselves as what I would view, or any of us in the room would view, as a social justice warrior, which is really just a weasel word for quite a full-on political, communist-orientated activist.
well,
So
right,
they
certain.
might say, well, I'm a social justice warrior because I like the ideas of social justice, and that's totally fair enough. But it doesn't mean that they're planning a revolution where they get to top-down
Yeah,
authoritarianly dictate to everyone how the world works.
of course.
Certainly, but I mean, my point was sort of, you know, this when we're talking about, you know, SJWs, the Brianna Woos, you know, these various people as, you know, feminists, liberals, you know, academics,
Mm.
whatever means we want to put them in. It's really not. It's really they're really a
I don't call them
faction.
I can't really call them social justice warriors because they're really not there for social justice. I mean, Anita Sarkeesian is
No, not really.
the only way I can really describe her is a wedge issue marketer. That's what she's there to do. She's looking for some form of controversy to be able to put herself into. She's gone for film, she's gone for magazines, she's gone for books and stuff like that. But she's managed to wedge herself into the gaming community.
yeah, if I may speak for a second, I'm kind of coming myself from a more anti-SJW stance myself. I mean, absolutely, I care about journalistic ethics and whatnot, but I'm coming from a more that sort of concern because I saw what happened with Atheism Plus, and for the
Absolutely.
past 5 to 10 years, we've really seen this sort of tidal current
Indeed.
of this sort of social justice attack on several media,
Yeah.
which Gamergate, you know, the whole attack on video games is just the most recent.
I've bore witness to this as well. But really, more than anything else, I basically, you know, we've been here from the beginning. I was here basically. You can go and check out my tweets from the very, very beginning, and we were really about basically saying, look, you want to go and piss off a load of people in magazines, you want to go piss off a load of people in film, go ahead, don't care. Get out of the gaming circuit. This is not your place.
Yeah, but they're trying to make it theirs, and that's the central concern, I think.
Yeah.
It really is this sort of, I mean, to use the term cultural Marxism, they're trying to they're trying to wash over every culture into this sort of singular. It's almost Borg-like in a way that it's
Mm.
acting, and so we have to keep in mind that we don't want to piss.
It's a
we
larger
don't-
battle. It's a larger battle, and it's not really in the gaming. You know,
Yeah.
gaming has just been sideswiped by it. That's all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
all
And this
really because gaming is so intersectional with like everything else, all forms of nerd culture and technology and everything. It's so intersectional. It must be such a prize for them to
Yeah.
influence this because they can use that to tentacle into everything around it,
Yeah.
which is really worrying.
And for them, this is just another battle in a sort of larger, a grand scale culture war that they're waging.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This isn't just, this isn't the be all and end all of it. Once Gamergate is over in the unforeseeable future, they'll move on to something else until there's nothing left of them or there's nothing left to take. So I mean, it's one of those things. It's like Gamergate is just another chapter in this greater campaign of so-called social justice, and the term is almost ironically placed. You also have to put quotes over social justice because you're right. It has nothing to do with social justice. It's all about this sort of
But
cultural narrative.
you've got to understand though that this isn't loads of people with a certain sort of ideal coming in, and they're from different backgrounds, they're from different sort of things. These are all rich kids
Yeah.
dictating. So it's not really in that sort of way. Like I said about it being basically wedge issue marketers. These people aren't interested in actual social justice. They're just basically trying to get their degree to pay them some money. They weren't
I
going to get
mean,
that degree wasn't going to pay for itself.
yeah, I mean, one of the things that, I mean, did you saw the latest Sargon of a Cat?
Yeah.
The one about the 25 things, and basically he showed the island of Jonathan McIntosh, and he says,
Yes.
look, all of those yachts.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
massive, wasn't it? It was like the Hamptons. Oh my God.
Is
I
that the
thought
actual one that his
video-
father owns? Is that the actual one, or
Well, I
like?
don't know if he owns the whole island because it looked big, big, big.
Yeah.
No one family, even if he had 100 servants, would need that many yachts. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It just
probably
demonstrates.
something
So it
so.
must be
It's
other
not as
people.
it's not his entire island.
No,
No,
no, but it is a sort of private island, sort of perfect for if
vacation.
you
Oh,
never want the poor to come bashing at your door. That's what it's perfect for.
Mm.
yeah.
I mean, they come by boat, but the rich don't think like that.
Like I said, it's rich kids trying to decide for us.
Yeah. Who used the word Jacobin?
Who uses the word Jacobean?
Yeah, somebody
I
used that word. That
I haven't
it
heard that
said,
term for like since studying French Revolution.
somebody wrote in Twitter, the Jacobeans trying to pass as communists. They bleed blue, not red.
That's interesting. We're using French. I mean, we're using French Revolution terminology.
So we've got social justice warriors and bloody Jacobeans now.
No, they basically the social justice warriors, especially like the leaders, are. It's like this, it's like the French Revolution of gaming, basically.
Right, I see. I get further
Yeah,
evidence there.
for the majority, it's merely buyer's guilt.
Yeah,
They've been sold down this line, of course, and now that they're there, they can't actually go back on it. That's why they're so angry.
yeah, but some of them are just too much. I mean, the girl from Kickstarter, basically, I don't know if she's a social justice warrior, but she's a damn racist.
Which one from Kickstarter?
The one that says that whiteness was bad.
Randy Harper?
Yeah, no,
No?
the Asian one.
Park?
Suey Park, yeah.
No, Soy Park.
Arthur
It's
Chu?
one of the editors of Kickstarter, and she said that
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is that Miles Chong or?
No, it's a
No,
girl.
it's a girl. It only popped up the other day, and it hasn't had a lot of interest pointed at it yet. But yeah, some Asian girl she was saying some quite quite racist stuff about white people. And she's an editor for Kickstarter.
Oh no, yeah, Sargon talked about that in his last This Week in Stupid, I think.
Nicole Key.
Right, Nicole Key was it or
Key, I think.
Key?
Somebody made me join a campaign says like boycott Kickstarter until Nicole Key apologizes.
We'll just avoid Kickstarter in general. There's not enough assurance. There's not enough assurance that your money is actually going to go towards the project, or that you're going to get a product in return. So,
although that game, I really like that game, the one that looks like Friday the 13th. I really want it.
I think when it comes down to this crowdfunding idea and everything like that, it's everyone's got their is going to pop themselves out there at some point. Some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to be bad. I mean, it's like buying a bad product.
Yeah.
You can't just suddenly turn around and kind of go, I ain't shopping anymore. You know,
Mm.
it's
And
you can't sort of like just lump them
yeah,
all in at the same time. There's good Kickstarters, there's bad Kickstarters, there's good
You know,
Indiegogos like
I
mine, and there's bad
Yeah.
ones.
and I certainly I
Yeah.
certainly don't mean to, give the impression that, crowdsourcing is just all bad. In fact, I actually quite like the concept. I just in in general, if you're starting, if you don't know the seller, or the seller isn't like really famous, and you start supporting them, there's no assurance that, your $50, your $60, those people who pledge like $100 are going to get their rewards for.
Well,
Mm.
I personally think that it should be in the same vein as any other product, of course, is that if somebody sells you a shoddy product, whether you've donated it to their cause or whether you've bought it. I mean, on Indiegogo, for example, you have perks. And one of the things that we were doing on ours was to give people a chance to advertise. That was their perk. So it was basically selling people advertising in order as a perk. I mean, in some cases, when you're doing a Kickstarter campaign, for example, one of the perks that you would have is the actual product that they were going to make in the first place. This all makes perfect sense to me. It's
Yep.
just if the product were to be a faulty product or it wasn't going right, that's when it starts to fall apart, because it doesn't necessarily fall under the same sort of things as normal commerce would.
No, certainly not. But the whole point of crowdfunding, as I remember, in the early days, it being presented as, is no longer are basically these private entities the investors. You are the investor directly into this product. You get you essentially become the main funder. And if that's the case, there needs to be better return policies, which, to my knowledge, none of the major sites have. I mean, I think there's only one court case about a bad product that has even gone through. So, I mean, it's a bit leery of a process at this point.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just new.
Exactly.
That's essentially something I hope someone will bring up, the fact that it is new and it's at an early stage. It's still a growing thing, and more control maybe needs to happen. And certainly this idea of people getting a return on their investment, which hasn't been vaunted at all, really,
No.
has it? Like, why shouldn't people expect something back if, like, they fund the next Minecraft and it took like $20,000, $30,000, and then goes on to make 19 million? Why shouldn't they have something back?
Yeah,
Absolutely, and that's the problem with the current model is there's no accountability to investors. So that whole idea that you're the investor now, there's no contracts written up. You're literally just giving someone money to make something, and you're not even guaranteed a free product from that. It's
Mm.
completely Wild West still, and that's the problem with Kickstarter and with crowdfunding as a whole. It's just not a good investment for one's money.
No,
I think
I suppose.
that's what makes it interesting. Is that what makes crowdfunding interesting to me is that because it's like the Wild West, it's also similar to ideals like democracy and heroism. Because when you think about things like democracy and reason they're good is because there's so much risk involved.
Yeah.
And the sacrifice is the possibility of failure. And so with that risk, that possibility of failure intact, when it makes it all the more magical.
Mm.
And it only
Mm.
happens when you've got a community behind it. So there's this. So when something special comes together, you've got a combination of good fortune and a cohesive community that sort of, well, it's just magical.
Yeah, certainly. Um, I it really does. I mean, when it works well, it works well. But when it's catastrophic, there was like this case where this same developer tried developing three or promised to develop like three games. None of them delivered, and they kept evading the law. That
Which
Oh
one?
yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah.
Mm.
yeah, at that point, it becomes, Wild West or not, democratic or not, it's a bit of a leery process. And the thing is that a refund policy wouldn't kill good projects, projects that actually delivered. It would only.
A petition system would work. So in
Yeah.
other words, if there's enough people that are turning around on this, and it's not looking good, the problem is, of course, is that once that money's been invested, I mean, how much time do you give before there's some sort of petition system, and who's going to take the money? Who's going to take the hit while that money's being got out of them? So it's getting to the point where you're basically having to be sued by Indiegogo or sued by Kickstarter in order for that to happen. I don't think they'll be interested.
Yeah.
The only way I could imagine that you could protect investors in crowdfunding projects would be to set up some kind of central authority, like on an internet auction, where the money goes into.
I don't think that's essentially the case. I mean, you can do a formal contract between two that is at least legally binding with some sort of legal witness or something to make sure.
And guys, there's also the other thing you've got to think of is that you've really got to stop saying investors, because these are donors. These are people just handing in cash, really, and just kind of going, off you go, sunshine, go for it.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the problem, is that they are donors and not investors.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any micro investment sites out there, is there?
No, maybe there needs to be. Maybe a more talented entrepreneur than I should think about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Any talented entrepreneurs out there? Quick, before it's too late. Ah, you missed it.
They've gone. Yeah. It'll be microfunded by now. Yeah.
It's done now. Somebody's getting an Indiegogo campaign right up.
Bought the domain name. That's as long as it takes.
An Indiegogo campaign to crowdfund a crowdfund site that specifically for investing.
That sounds great.
Yep. Getting meta now.
Yes. This kind of thing is slightly coming out of Gamergate anyway, isn't it? I mean, games, musicals, all sorts have been appearing and popping out of the general momentum of Gamergate.
Oh yeah, that's
I
agree.
Escape.
I mean, some of us have tried. Some of us are still trying. I don't know if Jenny did Jenny make it?
I don't know.
I'm not sure if she did, but I mean, she really needed to run a tighter campaign. I mean, Mundane Matt was right. Unfortunately, that wasn't a. It was a difficult thing to try to get behind.
Yeah, because
I think it was a bit late. I think it was a big ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of money.
It's different with Seedscape, because that game was she wasn't asking for money. She was just asking for to be green light, and that's easy. Especially, well, at least for other people, not for me, because I couldn't do it because I haven't bought anything on Steam.
Yes.
The rest of the people could just put a thumbs up, and that was the only thing that she was asking, and she wasn't asking it. She was.
I was just about to say, with level update on Jenny Barrage, I believe she's still got 23 days remaining.
Right, I was trying to find it.
Yeah, it's on Indiegogo, Base Gamer.
Oh, Indiegogo. No wonder I was looking at Jenny Barrage Kickstarter and wasn't finding anything.
Oh!
What about Sargon's game, Necromancer?
That's going well.
Yeah.
That one I think got successfully funded a while ago.
Yeah, it's almost done actually. Like if you've seen one of his latest videos, there's actually already footage that he put up, and it's looking fantastic. I can't wait for it to come out.
Yeah. I expect that will probably be. Well, he says he's about to go into beta, which means some people may be able to get codes, so we can pester him Bilio for that.
The thing is,
it's going to be a popular game.
With beta testing, that's when it starts to actually get quite problematic for anyone who's actually having to fix it, because not a lot of people. This is the thing. Years and years ago, I used to work in a company that was called Babel Media, which did play testing and localization. So if you can imagine somebody's made up a language, so let's say Spanish, it is a made up language. But they've got their own interpretation of it. They may be English and they know a bit of Spanish, and they've made it as they think it should be, and then they get an actual Spanish person in to play test it and get the actual Spanish correct, so it makes some actual sense to a Spanish person. But all of these sort of things, these are huge tasks. It's one of the most expensive parts of making games, and I think a lot of the time this is where a lot of the problems lie, is that if you're a professional games tester, that's a damn sight different from some kid basically just playing something on Greenlight, and
Right,
it's like, oh, this stuff sucks. My thing didn't work. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for that input. I can do nothing with that. And there's 20,000 people saying the same thing, but they've not actually specified. When you're doing play testing, you've got to do it over and over and over again, so you see the exact thing, and then tell them exactly what to do in order to mess up their game.
Yeah,
Nobody
unless
bothers
the
to do any of
designers
that.
can reproduce it, they can't fix it, can they?
Yeah.
So they have to know what's totally up.
So the whole open beta thing, it's a good idea on the face of it, but it doesn't actually get it's the same with a lot of using the crowd to do this and using the crowd to do that. Half the crowd aren't even interested in doing it; they just want a free game, or whatever like that, and they won't say a damn thing. And then the other half of the crowd are trying their best, but they don't know how to actually do it.
Well, and how much level of detail is needed if it's like a side scroller and there's a specific spot that where there's a broken wall or something,
You tell people that you need to go to this particular level, you need to go to this particular way, and you need to jump at the wall in a particular fashion in order to actually get to that thing. I mean, normally speaking, most of these walls are done in that particular way that won't happen, and you have to hit it in a particular angle or whatever like that. So you've got to describe the way that it gets done, and so that somebody, whoever they are, reads that and is able to actually mimic that action. So it can be quite complicated.
Okay, I could see where there's an entire separate job for that then.
Yeah. And then there's system crashing bugs and things like that falling through the terrain's always a beaut.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking why it's important is because in Skyrim there was a sort of cheat thing where you can sort of run at a door with a plate and you'd go through a locked door sometimes. And there was another one where if you ran at a particular section of the wall outside Whiterun with a plate, you fell underneath the world, but you could still walk around and you could access all the chests in the room without people seeing you stealing. So you could just help yourself to everything in Whiterun and nobody could do a thing about it, and it wasn't registered by the game or anything like that. Because there's chests in the room, and then there's just chests repeated under the pixel terrain of the ground and that kind of thing. That you don't actually see, and you can open the bottom one. And to see the guy repeating this, he had to go up to a particular place on the wall, jump at it a certain way with this plate thing, and then it wouldn't always work, and then eventually he banged through, and he did all this stuff, and it was amazing. And so you could see how complicated and
oh, it gets worse. Imagine a game like Stalker. Have you ever played Stalker?
No, but I know roughly what it is. It's that Russian sort of hunt each other down type game.
Precisely, but it's an open world. It's an open world sort of a game. So you have to complete a certain type of task in order to be able to progress onto other types of tasks. And of course, you can end up actually being ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
So you haven't got this or you haven't got that. You're halfway through a mission or whatever like that, and because you haven't got the bit of kit that you needed, you're now stuck. You just can't progress. And some of these things can actually just close the entire game down.
Yeah.
Well, and then you have messes like Sonic Boom where, absolutely no playtesting went through.
What happened?
Well, like
It crashed constantly?
Well, yeah, there was just like parts where reviewers not even trying to playtest, would show footage of falling through floors. There's, a glitch you can do with Knuckles where you can go through like 3/4 of the game just by, basically glitch jumping around,
Right.
those
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
In the old days,
Kinda
we
like,
used to have a feature.
Yes. Yeah. In
That's
Skyrim,
what
that is
we
a
used to do,
feature.
yeah. That's it. Those are exploits, you know. Yeah, I can complete Doom in 20 seconds. Brilliant.
Yeah. The important point of getting the horse in Skyrim is so you can walk the horse up the side of mountains because it's better at it than you are. Brilliant.
Don't you love it when you've got a horse on a terrain and basically, or a cow or something like that, and it's basically on a sort of like an angle over the terrain, and
Yeah.
this thing is just basically just rigid to the whole thing, you know, just bizarre.
Ladies, I'm on a horse. On a mountain.
But this is what happens as things get more and more and more complicated, though, you know.
Mm.
Oh
It
yeah,
just
certainly.
becomes nigh on impossible to get every last glitch out of it.
Yeah, and then happens Assassin's Creed Unity.
Well, and I think, and you know, at a certain point, I hope actually, you know, developers, if they you know, like find a few exploits, or you know, like or you know, if like you know, like in the Pokemon games, you know, where people get such joys out of glitching the game, that they keep, you know, that they keep a few in there, but don't tell anyone about it, you know, you know, because it's kind of fun to break games.
Well, there's
Okay.
also the middle management disease, where I've heard of game developers actually putting bugs in. So they put the bug in there so that their middle management type kind of goes, oh, you need to fix that. Because otherwise they'll just find something just to kind of go, excuse me, can I just justify my salary a second?
Mm.
Just you know, just find something. You know, they're just looking for something and just kind of going, change the, you know, make her tits a bit smaller, or you know, this needs to. It's like, no. Tell you what, concentrate on that bad bug. Oh, that's bad thing, naughty. All right, we'll get it fixed, boss. Blink, done.
Mm.
I haven't heard of that before, though. I could completely see that happening.
Yeah, that'll be the social justice warriors' next tactic if they ever find feminists that can code, which is a nightmarish thought.
Well,
They're out there.
wasn't the
True.
isn't she a feminist, or is she just
And
LGBTQ?
Woo.
And the reason their game isn't selling is nothing to do with the fact that they code badly. It's just that they've gone with a terrible, terrible concept.
Yeah,
It looks
and it's
stupid.
ugly.
I was part of a game that was made called IO, which was, I don't know if you remember, back in the days, we had sort of Skybox. Remember Skybox, Ian?
Roughly, yeah.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, the ones where you could download games down the phone line.
yeah, that was about the first time multiplayer gaming ever. No, that was the first existence of downloadable games, wasn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what we got tasked to do by GoPlay and Sony?
No.
A side-scrolling shooter.
Mm.
Can you imagine a side-scrolling shoot 'em up using a remote control?
Yeah.
Just put it into your mind for a second.
Wouldn't that work similar to something like Contra, though?
Well, yes and no, because I don't know if you know much about remote controls, but generally remote controls kind of go press button 1 or press button 2, but you don't really press button 1 and 2 at the same time, do you? You don't think to press up or there it goes. You're feeling it now, aren't you?
Yeah,
Oh,
I can see where that go wrong.
yeah. And you could see people saying that to the guy, and the guy going, "Nope, don't give a shit. I'm the guy with the suit and the boots. We're doing this regardless."
Yeah.
And we did. And we spent more money playtesting it than actually the money that we got out of the game in the first place. What a waste of time.
And did you manage to fix that two-button press?
Well, no. That's the point. You can't. It's on remote controls. You'd have to actually refashion remote controls. It's using a little infrared controller. You
So
know,
what
it's talking to it's firing a little infrared remote control to the screen. It just doesn't. You just had to work it out. Basically, if you wanted to shoot, you had to stop moving.
Huh.
Huh. I would go with oh. That would be my response. I was playing it. I looked at the guys and going, There seems to be a bit of an issue with this, and they just looked at me and kind of, don't talk about that.
Talk about that.
Just be thankful that your music is being broadcast to the entire universe.
Yeah.
You know.
We all know it's not going to work, but we're still getting paid.
Yeah. This was in the analog days, mate. So, you know,
Yeah.
I now have my tune that I made for this game basically being played for about 2 years constantly, you know,
Yeah.
in analog. So nobody has to sort of like mess it about or anything like that. It was just on a channel being broadcast out to the universe. There I am. I'm immortal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
You do a very good job of being immortal. What with that huge steel body and that
That's that's my claim to fame.
Yeah.
Shitty game music being splattered out to the universe. People in Alpha Centauri are going to be picking up in 50 years, going to go, "What is this shit?"
well, I mean, if we literally go through gaming and the only thing we have to show for it is you know, mid '80s failing consoles with TV styled remote controls, that's going to be a pretty sad legacy.
Well, as you can see, the gaming world has come along.
Yeah.
Now it's got cool. You know, I'm starting to sit there and kind of go, yeah, I don't really like it now. It's cool. You know, there's too many people trying to get in on the train. You know, just sort of like, look, let me color my hair. See, now I'm a geek.
I'm a gamer. Yeah.
And even if they study up, even if they've got this massive history about that, you know, they've gone and learned up about all of this sort of stuff, I still don't even like it because it's not that they're necessarily not into it or anything like that. It's just that they're sort of like they're not interested in it because they're interested in it. They're interested in it to stay relevant.
Well, certainly if you have, you know, those kinds of that kind of audience, that audience is extremely annoying. But I mean, you know, it's like the, you know, the money question in, you know, in Gamergate. I mean, how can you tell the true motive? I mean, not everyone is going to be a Brianna Wu or Anita Sarkeesian and be so bald faced about it.
Dude, we built this city on rock and roll.
Yes.
You know, some of us did. You know, if you imagine, not all gamers are into the same games as other gamers. Some gamers are really into their RTS, for example, and they love to know every last stat. They love to, you know, it's like playing trumps with them. But some of us just want to run and gun. You know, we think on our feet. We just want to blast somebody in the face and just that's it. You know.
Yeah,
I
certainly.
mean, it doesn't really, you know, most of the thing when it comes to the sort of like the whole gaming thing is that you look outside your window and you just see all these people trying to be cool. You're like, oh, go away. I just want to I just want to have fun, you know.
Well, the
It
upside
doesn't
of that
matter about the
is,
geekiness even, you know. It doesn't matter about the geek. I don't have loads of sort of action figures lining my TV. I don't have all of that. I don't need it.
well, the upside of that is when it's not cool anymore, they'll move on, right? But the people who are
Yeah,
still dedicated to it 5, 10 years from now, we'll
that's
still be
right.
playing video games. We'll still be part of the culture, so we don't have to worry about it. It's just right now. I mean, it's a very crucial time for us because it's cool.
Yeah. So it's, you know, it's time to make it less cool because what they're trying to do is they're kind of trying, let's lose the loser. You know,
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Do you know
Like
why it was
the thing,
cool? Do you know why it was cool? Because it didn't have you people.
well, I mean,
You know, that's how I look at it.
wasn't cool.
Triple A's are trying certainly with broken games that just try too much on the technical scale and prize graphics over good gameplay. You know, they're slowly trying to make it uncool, I guess.
Well, there's all this stuff. If you saw the Gamma Sutra stuff about when they were saying gamers were dead, and they were saying this is what the future of games is, and they had these 17 points or 27 points, maybe even. They've got to think about big numbers.
Oh yeah.
And one of the
One of
things it said is that games shouldn't be more fun. They
Yeah,
should be
no,
less fun.
it said that the fun in games wasn't supposed to be the first thing, like the most important thing. It was supposed to be like the second thing most important. Actually, it said that it didn't matter if the game was fun or not. I mean, it was like the message first, then the fun. Well, in the normal traditional way that a game is designed, it's fun first, and then if you want to put a message in it, you can do it, but that comes second.
Or even 16th. I mean, there are other things like games should be shorter, games should be easier, games shouldn't have win or lose conditions and that kind of thing.
Well,
All sorts about policing how people behave
and
in
I and I
games.
and I think there's room for this. The issue is player choice. Problem with the game like Gone Home. In fact, I rather enjoyed some elements of Gone Home, but
I really enjoyed the lighting. You can switch on and off lights all day. So I just went that I made up my own little mini game and just basically just finding all the light switches. That was
oh
really
yeah, I mean,
There was a story in there too, apparently.
there was this. And we'll see. I went into Gone Home not knowing anything about it. I torrented it, and I
20
so
minutes,
I
that's all I could manage.
so
I
like
tried. I really tried. I did.
Oh,
Couldn't
God,
any more than that. It was just sort of like, "Grr." Oh right, so you're going to put the tiny elements that end up in a game as the game.
Yeah, true. But I mean, but I mean, it's like so I was basically ignorant about it. So magically the red herrings worked for me. I thought that a demon would pop out at any single moment, and then reach the end of the game and find out that didn't. That was actually quite effective for me.
You were waiting for demons that entire time.
Yeah. Well,
I wanted some damn demons. Yeah,
well,
it's boring.
aliens or something like that. I mean,
So
it
you were
was.
just getting up to a cupboard and kind of just opening it, and then nothing, and then you go into a drawer. Oh, bugger all. And just switching on a light, and there's nobody here.
Well, yeah, and then you go into the hallway and it's red, and it's like, oh, I don't want to go down there. That's where the aliens are gonna pop out.
So you're
And
essentially a glutton for disappointment.
Yeah.
I wasn't. Well, I wasn't disappointed. I was just. I thought
You
it was.
enjoyed this disappointment. That's what I was trying to say.
Well, yeah. Well, I was more.
It's like Alien without the alien.
Yeah.
I like games like I haven't played it, but I watch a let's play of Journey, and it's very artistic, but I really like it. I like the story. It was really cute, and the art was really good. It was strange and it was like artsy, but I really like it.
But let's say this: the thing with Gone Home that sort of put me off a little bit. There was a lot of reading involved, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
I
it
don't know
was
about
quite
you.
reading.
I don't know about you, but I enjoy a good book. That's when I read. When I'm enjoying a good game, I tend to sort of like have a certain amount of reading, but not like all reading. It's like reading a book, but having to go to different rooms in the house to read a new page.
Well, that's the thing. A game is supposed to be interactive. If you want to read, you should read a book.
And I mean, but Gone Home was interactive. It was just. It was interactive in the way that old LucasArts games were, or old Humongous Entertainment games were, where it was more clicking around the environment to see what would happen.
No, you do not get to put Monkey Island in with that. I'm sorry. Step
Well,
back.
It's a walking simulator too. What do you do in Monkey Island? You walk around clicking on stuff.
Right, I'm going to have to leave this stream if this is carrying on. We can't get. If you're going to diss Monkey Island, if you're going to put that.
No, I'm not dissing Monkey Island. I actually like walking simulators. I just.
A walking sim. You had all kinds of things to do. You could choose what you could do, and there was there was an actual decent story there, and it was fun and it was funny.
Yeah.
This wasn't fun or funny.
Gone Home is leagues below something like Monkey Island, but I mean, when the criticism that that it's too simple a control, it's too simple a control system.
Well, no, it wasn't that. That's what I mean. I mean, the whole point and click sort of storyline thing is a perfectly adequate way of doing it. And they worked it really well because there was a difference. It was compelling. That's the thing. I talked to there's a guy who I've chatted to a few times called Bitcoin Bill, and he was saying to me that the concept behind Depression Quest was really good. It was brilliant, and I said to him, "So, have you played it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've played it." And I went, "How long were you on it for?" And he went, "About 2 minutes."
Yeah.
And that sort of summed it up for me. It's like
Yeah.
that's your idea of a review. You've now decided upon it being a good game after 2 minutes worth of looking at it. If it was a good game, you'd have been on there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours.
It
But
should
the
have been. It
problem
should have been
is,
free. It should have
And
been free. Is the thing. I was fine with. I was fine with the concept. I was actually somewhat impressed that it was a decent enough story. You know, not perfect. You know, not great by any means, but decent enough. But
$15. Wow.
yeah, it should have been free. It should have been a free demo that she put out there. Where this is the kind of work that I do. So stay tuned for my next full release, which will be longer.
Are you talking
Um,
Gone Home now or Depression Quest? Because Depression Quest was free.
Oh no, Gone
Yeah.
Home.
Oh
Depression
yeah,
Quest.
Gone
No,
Home.
Depression Quest is a glorified slideshow without much of the flair of well put together PowerPoint
Websites.
presentations.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't even a choose your own adventure.
You don't get to choose. That was the point, you see. She was trying to be poignant.
Mm.
It's
Choose
like
Your Own
it's like
Adventures have grammar and halfway decent writing in them.
And
The
picture.
Depression Quest that I haven't heard enough is
Hello?
that the writing is so bad. It's so bad that it's about fifth grade level writing. The sentences are just straight telling. Style is non-existent. With a
Mm.
sentence like just like a very vague statement about the setting. She like the fact that maybe it's Wednesday morning or the weather is doing
Yeah.
X, and it's such bad storytelling that the fact that anyone is giving it a good review is just infuriating to me. And I don't
Yeah.
hear that enough about Depression Quest. I haven't heard anyone
The
say that the writing is shit.
You, you
the
almost miss that, don't you? Because the rest of it is like, what is this? It's not a game. It's a PowerPoint presentation. Yeah. You
Yeah.
missed that. They're like, this isn't even well written.
it's
And
also
or
the worst take on
I
depression
don't.
there's ever been. You know,
Yeah.
it's not even a good. It
Yeah,
doesn't
I
even
was
do what
going. I was
it's
going
what
to
it
say that
says it's
next.
doing well. It's the worst take on depression. It has nothing to say. There's no message at it at all. So even in its stated goal, even though it's forsaken fun, forsaken good writing, it says, "Oh yeah, well we're still about the message." The
And it
message is
wasn't.
wrong.
It wasn't even because she
Yeah,
was a
that's
woman.
dead on.
We had. I
no,
was reading some of the reviews in Steam, and one of the reviews said this guy is just whining. That was pretty much the review.
mm,
This guy is just whining. Didn't even know it was. It didn't even bother to register that it was a woman doing it. Didn't care. It
Well, it's
was.
first world problems the game. It's
Yeah.
completely well, game is it's first world problems the book basically. And it's people with actual depression. You know, it's nothing like that. It's nothing like that at all whatsoever. And
Games help people out of depression. I've met so
exactly,
many people who have had depression, and games have saved them from it. But not games like that.
yeah.
and it's such a sad thing too because I actually kind of like the concept of not having a choice. It's that's actually sort of a compelling thing
That's
to
called a book.
have.
Yeah.
Well,
You
but in
don't
a
have any choice in a book. You just read what's happening. You are just sitting there, just having it happen to you.
Yeah.
but in,
And
in a
this,
more interactive format to subvert that expectation, I think can be a compelling game mechanic, like
but
how they did
there's
in Bioshock Infinite, for example.
Yeah, a game mechanic. In other words, a chunk of a larger game. I mean, a lot of
If
the
you
the thing is with the indie scene as well is that what people do is they run with one tiny concept.
Yeah.
if you
You know,
Yeah.
succeed,
there's at least they try. With this, it just
if
didn't feel as if it was trying at all.
yeah, it's what it needs for that to be a compelling game mechanic is to succeed at creating the illusion of you being a character in that story with the ability to choose. So here I am, I'm in this story that's Depression Quest, and I have the ability to make choices, and then suddenly, here's something I can't do. Then it becomes a compelling game mechanic, but they never succeed at putting you in the story. It's just
Exactly.
a complete flop.
Yeah,
Exactly.
one of the privileges that female gamers have that men don't is that I can't put a webcam on me while I play a game and expose the top part of my chest and suddenly get 4,000 viewers.
Hmm.
You probably could, Robin.
Well, I could try. I could try, but
Right.
it's like, let's say this, when you see somebody sort of like with a low cut top and you sneak a peek and they're like, "What are you looking at?" And I'm like, "Well, what's on display?" I
Yeah.
mean, I beg your pardon, but if I were to take my ball sack and just basically just place that just above the trouser line with, say, some sort of eye-leading jewelry hanging from my navel, well, you're gonna look.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, if
and
it's
yeah,
not on sale, don't put it in the showroom, you know?
yeah, you're gonna look. Sorry.
I
So.
think they actually do sell ball bikinis or something like
Yeah,
that.
I was looking on Twitch the other day, and there's this girl is just going on about cats, and she's got her mams out as much as possible. The camera is angled in such a way that it's actually higher than her head, so it's looking right down on top of her head. Come on, right? And she's
Yeah.
just basically just running around on Counter-Strike, not really playing it, and she's just asking people about whether they've got a cat or not.
These,
And this,
these people know that porn's free, right? Like someone needs to tell these people that full porn is absolutely free. Like they don't need to do these things.
We
Yeah.
had we had a porn star, an actual porn star on Twitch.
Yeah.
Did you know
Yeah.
this? Do
Yeah.
No.
it? No, we did it
Oh,
for
yeah.
carbon-based gaming, carbon-based sex it was called, yeah. And we had it front-facing, and she's actually talking to us. She was sort of like, we show a bit of chest, and we're like, no, don't need to. We're here to discuss things. And she was
Yeah.
talking about relationships and sex and stuff like that, but she wasn't, while one of us is just playing a game and stuff like that. But it was actually about the discussion. It wasn't just about her mams, you
Mm.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she's a professional.
Oh
That's the
yeah.
thing. Yeah, she's essentially what I describe as a sexual athlete. So she's going to know a lot of things about sex and relationships that a lot of us aren't really going to be able to have the kahunas to necessarily talk about. She was
Mm.
talking about holding hands on the first date. I was sitting there kind of going, we got 14-year-olds in here. What the hell? You know, and double penetration. It was a big mix. You
Yeah,
know.
the best part was like there was another time I think where like you had some guests as well, and all these young like teenage lads from all over Europe and that kind of thing were all like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Whenever she was saying anything, they were all like, hello, well, it was brilliant. It's brilliant. They cope well, but like you could hear all the kind of like,
But with all this brouhaha that's happened around the carbon-based gaming thing, is that
yeah,
she's having to step away from that, and I'm kind of a little bit upset by the whole thing. It's a bit of a
mm,
mess.
What?
Well, and wasn't there that what was the situation with the GG porn?
Ah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. This
Oh,
this
the
porn star
lewd.
was trying to get people to pay for porn because she wanted to launch a satellite into space or something.
No, no,
yeah,
no, 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 no,
kind
no.
of, but not quite.
That's a completely different thing. That's fuck it, let's look shit into space.
Yeah.
Essentially, we do have some people that are know a few people in NASA, and they're actually making up a small, basically Space Chan. Imagine 8chan but for space.
Yeah.
Secure server, something that basically they'd have to fire a rocket at in order to stop. You
Yeah,
know. So
it's
and
the it's like the Radio Caroline of the internet, really, isn't it?
yeah, it's a BBS site basically floating around the Earth.
Mm.
It's a great idea. I like it.
Mm.
They can get one of those things up now for about $1,500.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Amazing.
15,000.
Amazing.
Sorry, not 1,500. For about
Amazing.
10 by 10 centimeter little miniature satellite.
Apparently
Isn't that
they
amazing?
yeah, apparently they're called CubeSats or whatever, and
That's
apparently they're
right.
going to go for the full deal where they have three of these bolted together, and it can give them all sorts of fun functions apparently when it's set up like that.
Yeah,
So it's going to be.
they're actually going to have an ant farm in there in order for moving the heat around.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's amazing, isn't it? It's just so like you've got these little, and they're doing it for hot pockets.
they're just doing it for a laugh. They're just doing it
Just
because
doing
they
it for
can.
love. Yeah,
Yeah, I
these
love
little
it.
janitors in space. It's magnificent.
Well,
And
if you
somehow
imagine when
everyone's
when
gonna
it gets
for
too
this.
hot on one side, they'll go to the cooler end, of course, and to cool themselves off.
Yeah, and take
And
the
by
heat with
that
them.
way, transfer the heat. Yeah,
It's
Well, what
brilliant.
I'd like to
brilliant.
see is,
It's
sorry,
amazing.
yeah.
It's just another of many examples of while SJWs go on whining, Gamergate fucking makes shit happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what
Absolutely,
I'd
from
like to
reaching
see
for the
is,
stars.
yeah. Well, what I'd like to see is them, ask for Patreon money or, have a campaign to build a missile platform to try to shoot the satellite down.
Yeah, Anita
Yeah.
Sarkeesian has yet to actually finish fulfilling her
Yeah.
promises to Kickstarter. Yeah,
And
and
she's years
we'd
overdue, huh?
done by the time we hadn't even finished the Indiegogo campaign, and we'd already launched 2 episodes of our podcast. That's the difference. We're here to work.
Yeah, I think that Anita is going to try to stretch this thing until
course
she
she is.
cannot like do it anymore. Like
Mm.
she wants to stretch her presence in the gaming world. I
Yeah,
don't
she
think that
measures the
she.
background radiation on feminism and all these subjects, and when it gets to a certain level, like there's enough interest in it, she'll leap into that. But if there's a big issue, she jumps straight into it. And so we could have perhaps predicted that she was going to get involved in Gamergate. I think some of us expected it anyway, but
I think Anita Sarkeesian will become irrelevant as soon as she has a seat on The View.
she has a what?
There's
Seat on
a
The
show
View,
called
as
The
soon as
View.
she, yeah, as soon as she joins one of these morning talk shows, then everyone except that audience who doesn't know anything to begin with will forget about her.
Today is the Game
It sort of
Awards.
seems like it's likely to happen.
Yeah,
And have
I
you
do
ever?
hope.
I don't think she would though, because have you watched any one of these shows? They're so vapid and they don't get much audience. Half of the time the audience looks bored. That's not the kind of thing that Anita Sarkeesian would do. She'd more likely go and try to go join the Young Turks or something and try to get her own segment or something like that, where she can bitch and moan about feminism this, feminism that. Where
No,
it'll
she's trying to get a positive attitude towards it by basically making sure that women feel as if the gaming world is a complete nightmare for them.
which I mean is more conducive to one of these smaller new alternative sites. I mean, I could see her maybe even trying to join Kotaku or something like that instead.
Well,
I don't know.
there are statistics out there that people are willing to tout that suggest that 50% of the 50% of the population of gamers are women, and that is of course on the current state of play with gaming as a whole. And I sit there and I say, well then, you haven't got a problem then, have you?
Well, yeah, there is that obvious thing, isn't it? How come,
Yeah.
gaming has vastly improved the amount of women that engage with it. So, how have we not fixed our own problems and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Because it's
You
not
think?
about that.
Yeah, if those are the statistics they're willing to slap out on us, then we're sitting there kind of going 50-50. Brilliant.
Mm.
Now shut
Well,
up.
Well, it's not about
about-
that though. It's not about actually touting 50-50. It's not about that whatsoever. It's all about the ideology. Sorry, the ideology.
No, it's
Supremacy.
that's just a way for them to get closer to their ultimate goal, which is to take over the shit completely.
Yeah.
Let me.
It's not. It doesn't matter if 50% of women. The important is 50% of the right women, not the wrong kind of women.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's right.
Oh, you sock puppet, you.
Yeah.
It's annoying as well because you think that they can't actually be the right type of women until they've chosen the degree that's going to indoctrinate them. And if they've chosen that degree, then they ain't going to have time to be studying the stuff that wouldn't have indoctrinated them, like a hard science, a STEM
Yeah,
science.
Well, that's the
So,
nature of dogmatic faith, isn't it? I mean, I've often said that feminism acts as much as a faith as any right faith has the right to. And this is what it is. These gender studies are just seminaries
mhm.
for these basically priests of feminism, this priest of gender studies. And that's all Ania Sarkeesian is when you really look at it. She's a preacher. She's preaching the gospel of the feminist faith and trying to get indoctrinate as many people who are stupid or ideological enough to go for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's one of the memes that you can see everywhere. That oh, it's asking like women appear more presence of women in STEM, but she's majoring in women's studies or English or communications. She's not majoring in the degrees that they want equality.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not that none of this is really to do with gaming. It's to do with feminism. It's not
Yeah.
really anything to do with it. This is one of the reasons why we did carbon-based gaming in the first place, to actually have, carbon-based, life.
uh,
With the byline that we use is bonding carbon-based life forms with Silicon Valley. That
yes,
that was the principle of actually having an introspective look into gaming as it affects society on the whole, not just through some sort of lensed perspective. And that's
Not
what we've been really trying to push more than anything else.
That's
And I
interesting.
don't know, I don't know sometimes whether people are sort of like, the thing is that we actually do it in a balanced way, and that doesn't sell these days, it seems. You know?
well, certainly not. And I think, I mean, unfortunately, the state of game research, is more the diagram model.
Hmm.
Well, they don't necessarily. This is the other thing, of course, is that academia, once again, doesn't really have a lot to do with gaming, but they know that it's an $80 billion industry, and they wouldn't mind a slice.
Yeah.
These are the sort of people that want to be consultants in the gaming world.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Nor
they're
should
not
they.
really doing it for any sort of actual benefit to gaming as a whole. They're just doing it to basically steal a slice of the pie as such.
Which is really sad. I mean, it, just coming from that environment, there are certain advantages that I think a more analytical model could bring. The problem is, it's gaming already has an analytical model involved in it. That's partially why it's so successful. So, I
It's for
mean,
analytical people.
yeah,
You
exactly.
see a situation, you see a problem, and you work out a way to solve it.
Right.
So it's
Which is
like
why they can't bullshit us.
yeah.
Mm.
So
And that's
yeah,
the thing with, and that's
Sorry, I
the thing
was
with
Yeah.
in there.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just going to say, and that's the thing with academia is, there's so much money to be made. At least where I am, anyways. Like where I'm looking at it from, there's so much money to be made, but the work that's being done is very cyclical. So like all academia essentially does is take money from actual productive sources and uses it to funnel into itself as a sort of like self-serving. It's almost parasitic in a way,
it's like
and that's
counseling.
well, like exactly. It's very much like that, and that's the thing is if you're good at it, if you're good at academia, you can make a lot of money because it's essentially a racket. Especially when you go into fields like like Arnia Sakizia has communications. There's no money to be made in communications except for the ones that are taken by the sort of ill-gotten gains of academia, and that's the state of it right now. Is that unless you're going into a hard science like chemistry or physics or something along those lines, like engineering, for instance, you're not actually going to end up in society producing any
Yeah.
benefit to it.
Well,
You're going to
those fill gaps in the market. What these people are doing is creating holes.
exactly.
Well, but I mean, I guess I sort of have to challenge that. I'm going into history currently, and I can agree on some fields like gender studies, or even to a certain degree maybe English and communication. However, not all productive roles in society have to create a luxury item such as a game or some new technology. I mean,
But they do have to justify their salary.
Yeah.
right. They do have to, and that's where and that's where I don't think that the current model of new age thinking in any of these fields, history included, is working, because they are basing themselves off of social constructs, ideologies. It's not actually trying to find the truth or trying to um, figure out any of these things that they profess to do.
Well, it's rehashing history, really. It's like history from a feminist perspective isn't history.
Well, and well,
You know, that's not. It's not. That's the thing. It's like
it
kind of
is.
going, history from a child's perspective isn't history. These people were mean to me, and those
Yeah.
people were mean to them, and they said some horrible things. And it's like, well, we haven't learned anything from this particular thing, now have we, kid? You know, you've really got to
No.
like write down some stuff. It's like, yeah, but I'm only 5. You know, this is the point. I mean, if your history is history. You know, it's something that's written down. Yeah, there's different takes on history. You can see it from different countries and stuff like that, and those aren't history. Those are just history from that country's perspective.
Yeah.
And all you have in history is perspectives. That's why history changes so much. That's why you have, think that the bullshit that happens, nowadays is new. No, heck no. We used to, used to. That's one half of the difficulty, is that people write from their own perspectives. So you have to balance things out.
That's right. And by looking at all of those perspectives, that's when you actually get real history. But if you look at it from a perspective and a particular way of doing things, you've already basically scuppered the boat before you've even got out of the dock.
And I guess
Yeah.
I guess my point would be that even the broad statements about academia, that's still history that's being done, sort of a historiography where it's looking at how history has been recorded, or where history has or current challenges in history or problems in current narratives. I mean, this is all being done in history as well. So I mean,
Studying the rewriting of history by people to
Yeah.
interpret
Mario,
what
from a
really says.
feminist perspective,
Yeah.
that's
So,
a historical game. And if you suddenly turn a game that had the mechanics and the understanding of a platformer with the learning capabilities that were being put into this, where you would go through a first level, and then the second level was just that little bit more difficult, and then the third level had the same sort of thing as the first 2 levels, but it had given you some traps that could get you killed. And then it slowly progressed you and stuff like that. These are the things that are to do with actual games. But when you start kind of going, yeah, but the storyline was a bit sort of, well, you're sitting there kind of going, well, guess what? Have a look at it in its historical perspective. There
Yeah.
wasn't much time for any of
Right,
that sort of
exactly.
business. They were too busy making the game.
And that's the thing. Like the only practical thing we can talk about history is that recording aspect. I mean, historians are the great record keepers of our age, and it's important. And I do believe it's an important thing to remember. But the level of academic history, and I know because I mean I'm within academics and I'm minoring in history, is that it's a lot of, as was said before, rehashing of history. There's not a lot of record keeping going on anymore. It's very much, well, let's look at this from a different perspective. Let's look at this from an African perspective. Let's look at this from, not necessarily the feminist perspective, but let's look at this from this person's perspective. There's not a lot of, all right, we need to record these things. We need to keep it, and we need to kind of like look at it and analyze and see what's. It's very much, well, we already have analysis on it. What other analysis can we put on it?
Well,
It's busy work.
that perspective usually comes from who's paying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a look at history from a British perspective of the Second World War, Churchill's a hero. Go and ask the Indians.
Mm.
Go and ask India if this man was a nice guy. Oh, it's all right if we can gas them. It's okay.
Did he gas people in India?
Yeah, man. You know,
Wow.
go and have a look. He got into a right strop about it actually because
Uh,
the British soldiers weren't so keen. He basically turned around and kind of go, I'm very upset by the squeamishness of our troops for not gassing the rebels.
oh my god.
Yeah, I mean
He was a colonial bastard, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You try and say that in a British pub.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. Well, I might actually. No, I've done that kind of thing before. That's why I'm
But
not
that's
allowed in many
histrionics.
pubs.
That's histrionics in that sort of way. People can't take it.
Mm.
My
Well,
dad, my
and
granddad fought in a war, so
Mm.
if he's
public
not, he's a
history is that
bastard.
way. Public history is terrible. You look at World War in just within the United States, looking at Thanksgiving, World War II, World War One, even what Cold War, Civil War, War of 1812, all these different things. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
perspective building is, I agree, a huge problem, which is
Wars
why
just
which is
require
why
two bastards. That's all it requires. Two bastards and a bunch of people to follow them. They have to actually. I find that the more people they get killed, the more heroic they become. Not of their side, but of their own. Because
Yeah.
of course,
Mm.
is that it becomes the sacrifice. You see, people. So many people died, so I cannot, for the life of me, say that it was a waste of time when so many million of people died, and I'm sitting there kind of going, but millions of people died. That's
Yeah.
a waste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's sort of like
Long
a
time ago.
justification, to keep that sort of sanity. It's like we can't believe our heroes did all these great horrors, so we have to keep telling ourselves these sort of
Buyer's
lies.
remorse again.
Yeah, it's
Buyer's
that bias
remorse.
remorse. It is. It's that bias remorse. This is how they sell people over moral lines. Like for the First World War. Yeah, if you ask sort of like at the moment you'd know this one, Ian. If you ask the
Mm.
Conservatives about the First World War, remember they were talking about Blackadder and all that sort of business, and saying, oh yeah, they're just painting
Yeah.
the First World War as an absolute bloody mess, and these people
Yeah.
didn't know what they were doing and all that sort of business. You know what really paints it for me more than anything else? That I knew that it was being run by total bastards, and the people that were actually fighting the wars weren't. Because on Christmas Day, a bunch of Germans and a bunch of British
Yeah.
people had a football match in the middle of a field somewhere.
Yeah,
Mm.
that is the
And that
most
speaks
important thing.
volumes. Forget anything else.
It does, and they've tried to cover that up by renaming Armistice Day. What did they call it? It's called Veterans Day now.
Is
At
it?
least in America.
Well, it's
Yeah,
called Remembrance Day here,
yeah.
but I mean, just going up on World War
good.
One, for instance. I mean, it's seen as a very hero. Like I'm Canadian, so like it's very much part of our history. It's very deep into the sort of narrative that Canadians are taught. That World War One was this great heroic time for our nation, and it built us, and all these sorts of things. Barring all the people who died, and the fact that it was mostly, say, Newfoundland regiments who died as a result of it. So it's these narratives to sort of justify the deaths,
Yeah.
the sort of pointless deaths. I mean, Canada
But
didn't
those
have a
deaths
hand in
justify the wars, you see. So the more
exactly.
deaths, the better.
Yeah, and that's the
That
thing.
that makes it easier for them to be able to justify that war in that way.
Exactly, and Canada didn't have a hand in World War. It didn't need to be in World War One whatsoever. But the fact that so many Canadians died fighting for a cause that wasn't ours creates this narrative. Well, look at all these Canadians that died. Isn't that worth something? It had to have been for some reason.
Yeah,
All these people.
I've laid down all these lives. I've got to get some gain for this pain,
Exactly.
And what
Exactly.
do you get? A war. Brilliant.
Yeah.
But then again, these aren't the people that are fighting it, you see. That's the whole point,
Oh, precisely.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing when it comes to this a particular set of things that we've got here with, say, Zoe Quinn. I mean, obviously she is sort of like the spark that started all of this. But if you have a look at the gaming press in general, really, it has been sort of a bastardized sort of sales machine, really, for quite some time. And as gaming has come up to a point where it's actually of a decent age now, I mean, I've grown up with it when I saw, I'm just sort of seeing two little lines and a dot on the screen, bleep, 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 bleep. And now we've got massive vistas. We've got like, Far Cry 4's just come out, and everyone's sitting there kind of going, "Oh my God, that looks awesome,"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where it's come to. Well, guess what? We need to grow up a bit here, guys. You know, we need to actually sort of like just stop being kind of go, yeah, yeah, just buy this. No, it isn't shit. We've really actually, you know, the press in general have actually got to grow
Yeah,
up with it now because
and I
they,
think the problem has come that we let the press get so rotten because it kind of didn't matter and people were making their own judgments as well anyway. And into all that has crept social justice because the standards are low and it's all about the clicks for the article.
Well,
It
and
doesn't matter as long as.
remember, this is the internet. There's no internet standard for journalism. Like there is in the real world. There's no.
there is. It's called a journalism ethics, and those things like Reuters, for example, these people are on the internet and they still adhere to it. The thing is that anyone, it seems, who writes on these sites, the moment you catch them out on their bullshit, they turn around and say, "No, I'm a blogger. It's different. It's different for us." And I'm
Well,
sitting there,
exactly.
you know what?
Anybody,
Then you
anyone
don't
can
get to
own the
be
site.
invited to the journalist party. Yeah,
Anyone can
I
own the
don't
site.
want them. Yeah, I don't want sort of bloggers to be put in the same vein as journalists. But what I'd like for people to do is fucking decide: are you a journalist? Are you actually being journalistic in your methods, or are you just basically just whining? You know, and
And
that's the
certainly their
difference.
advertisers should know if they're bloggers with advertisers and bloggers with multiple sites and links to games and retailers and that kind of thing. They certainly
That's
should
right.
be recusing themselves regularly and being ethical at the end of the day. But they
Which I
don't
mean,
do
I
that.
guess I guess I was being hyperbolistic there. I mean, yes, there is ethics, but when everyone can own a site, when everyone can establish a gaming site, there's no oversee to say,
No, well, let me just say this, yeah. This is the difference between journalists and bloggers, right? A blogger will be hyperbolic. A blogger
Yeah.
will run with a controversial subject and pick a side. A journalist will interview a person and then make judgments dependent upon that and make the conversation dependent upon that, but at least attempt to be neutral. Okay, at
Mm.
least you know. Of course, nobody's ever going to get that thing. I've heard people say this. You can't have complete objectivity, and of course not. That's perfection. We're not look. You know, at least make an attempt, though. Don't just say, "Well, you can't have it, so I'm not going to bother." You know,
Mm.
that's you're just giving up. You're just sitting there and basically throwing sand in a fucking in a bucket at that point. You're not actually bothering at this point. You know, we got a one of the most controversial games is just coming out soon. Hatred. Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
yes, oh
Yeah,
yes, lots of
it's
this.
it's an absolute monster game. Yeah,
Mm.
and you know what? You know what?
No redeeming qualities.
Well, guess what? Guess what? It's good.
Mm.
Yeah,
It's
in some
actually
spots.
it's looking like it's actually a really good game. The concept itself, from what we've talked to the effects developer on there. Yeah, he's on the third episode. But
Mm.
we've had the IGN community manager coming in. Yeah, the
Mm.
from IGN, Sean Allen, for crying out
Yeah.
loud. Okay, he's sort of sitting there kind of going, I'm not too keen on it and all that sort of business. And you know what? I keep on thinking to myself at the end of the day, yeah, go and have a look at any other games, zombie movies, zombie games, or whatever like that. You're blowing the heads off innocent people left, right, and center. The only difference is the context. That's the only
Mm.
difference for these guys. That's the message that I got off of it. And you know why I know that? Because I wasn't sitting there kind of going, oh, this is terrible. This is awful. It's going to give people ideas. Oh, no, because I'm
Mm.
doing it on a journalistic way. I sat down, I listened to the guy speaking. Yeah, 99% of what he was saying was basically what he wanted to say. We didn't basically try to get into an argument with the guy, you know.
Mm.
And you know what? At the end of the day, probably about 50% of what he was saying, I would actually agree with as a on a personal level, about his ideas of gun control. We went through all of that sort of thing with him and stuff like that. But
Wow.
not my place. It's not my
Mm.
place. We're
Yeah.
there to just discuss the game with him and talk about, and then, we had a discussion after it, and one of us picked a side, and we basically discussed
Mm.
it from both sides of that. That's how you do it,
Right.
Mm.
and there isn't enough of it out there. That's the point. There just isn't enough of it out there.
Well, their narratives run roughshod over every story, don't they? If something doesn't fit to what they're trying to say overall, they really will discount
Yeah.
it.
But what I mean is you can cover a controversial subject without having to basically just go completely off the twig on it. You can cover that and allow people to actually make up their own minds at the end of the day by giving them all of the information rather than trying to just paint it in a particular narrative.
Well,
You know,
and more importantly, I mean, like I agree with everything you're saying, and at the end of the day, yes, there will be some people who hold themselves to this, but they themselves have to hold them to this. In the real world, like say when the inspiration for Game Journalers Pro was discovered, they shut that down because of possible legal action against
and
it.
then reopened it.
Oh, and then reopened it? Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't
they've got their, yeah. They just basically this is like basically police basically tasering some guy or whatever like that, and they don't investigate the policeman. They investigate why it leaked.
Yeah.
You know, all they did was basically kind of, oh shit, we've been caught out. Let's make up another one that nobody can see. Boom, done.
Yeah, and there's absolutely no way to prevent them from doing that if that's what they want to do. If they don't value their own ethics, and they don't, which is the problem.
It's easy to spot. You know, and that's the thing. I mean, you've got to be open in this world. You really have to. Otherwise, it's just going to end up in an absolute shit fest. And it's got bad, man. It's got really bad. You know, and it's been 10 years in the making, 12 years in the making, 15 years in the making. You know, it's just never. We were just expecting it to fucking grow up, and it just never did. That's why we're doing it on our own now. You know, because otherwise nobody else is going to bother.
Yeah. And another thing is accountability. I mean, it's not just being visible; it's having someone to answer to. And the reason the social justice warriors are running so rampant, and the reason cops are running so rampant is because they don't have anyone to answer to. There's no one who will stop them from acting in the way there. So you can get away with punishing the whistleblowers for leaking these. You can get away with saying whatever you want on Twitter or what have you because there's no one to stop you. There's no one to keep you accountable.
Yeah, but I'll say whatever the hell I like on Twitter, but when I'm going to go and do the show, that's when I actually switch all of that shit off.
Yeah.
Because it's not about that. It's about me advocate. You know, I am passionately ambivalent.
Yeah. And it's the same way but they don't make that distinction, and they go on into these journalistic areas because no one stops them, even in those journalistic arenas. There's no one to stop them from not making that distinction. So there needs to be more accountability towards that end.
Yeah.
And
what I love at the moment is how they've sort of got themselves into a terrible place. They've almost set it up so that they are aligned with the indie scene and that kind of thing, and they're now faced at the majors because recently it appears their same political type have taken down a really, really big, well-selling game from the shops in Australia. So now you can clearly point to the AAA developers and say to them, look, see, you didn't support us, and now this is happening to you.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not actually expecting a lot from them on that sort of front. They're like, oh, what? Target isn't selling our games that we don't sell in Target. I mean, when it comes down to it, who's going to be buying GTA 5 out of the shop?
Yeah.
Anyone?
when the PC port comes out, I doubt they're going to be selling non-digital copies like hotcakes.
No, they're going to, if you imagine we're going to be buying them online, that's going to be on my Steam account.
Yeah, exactly.
You know me.
And the places that are going to sell hard copies are going to be the dedicated game stores, not some general retailer like Target anyways.
They don't have as much as a selection. They don't have the same reputation for selling games. It's who the hell buys games at Target anymore?
Exactly.
At all.
Well, I'm in England, so no, don't buy games at Target.
And wins like
Or
that
you're
are always
British.
short-lived.
Yeah, true. Well, we have a game, and I tell you, I tend to pop in there and just buy cash Steam wallet credits, basically. So I still do use traditional game stores to buy credits to use on Steam. Terrible, really. It's just a better way to treat yourself. I don't have much of a spend.
Well, I mean, at least you're supporting both sources then.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. I'm being magnanimous. Yeah.
Folks,
Places
I'm
like
going to book
Target
out
only-
because it's 2:30 in the morning and I've got a nice warm woman to go and snuggle up to.
All right. Thanks for coming on,
I
Robin.
got priorities. You know what I mean?
Go
Yeah.
have fun with your other.
I'm just gonna snuggle, man. That's all I've got in me right now. I'm ruined.
Oh no. Thanks again for coming on, man. It's been
No
brilliant
worries,
chatting
bud.
to you again.
Thank
No
you so
worries.
much.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was expecting to try and pull in a few more people, but nobody's really. I tweeted out for you guys.
Oh,
Well, it's
nice
Friday
one.
night, you know. It's Friday
It's
night. There's a
Friday
lot of
night.
people
Yeah,
out.
they're
So.
all
I
good.
think there's other streams going on, so I mean, it's really.
Is that? Why didn't you tell me?
That's the thing, guys. I mean, one of the things that the open house, we sort of started at the beginning, so we did get quite a lot of people coming in. By the end
Yeah.
of it, we'd probably get about 1,000 or so people coming in, but we were never really big potatoes or anything like that. But we had a good time.
Mm.
We were basically first thing in the morning for most of California, and sort of
Yeah.
mid morning for everybody. So we were sort of the morning show. Um,
Yeah. It was
I'm
good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I did too. I really did too. I just couldn't. I can't be bothered to do.
No, I
If
don't.
you the thing is with Gamergate, and I'll say this right now.
Mm.
If this is just a social justice warrior ranting tweet
Mm.
sort of fest, not in it, right?
Mm.
Not in it, because you might as well just have another hashtag for that, you
Yes.
know. And every time people go on and on and on and on and on about social justice warriors, then we're proving their points. Really, when it comes down to it, Gamergate was about games, and it's about actually just on that particular singular issue, and it has been somewhat hijacked by the sort of social justice warrior squad. And and a good friend of mine has fallen foul of such people who have, well, I can only describe them as not very journalistically ethical,
No,
let's say.
no. There's a lot of touching of poop even among Gamergate, unfortunately.
You've understated somewhat, mate. People have circumvented the law. You know, we've had people that have hacked into my friends' accounts for Twitter
Oh,
and things like that. Yeah, yeah.
okay.
We've actually had. You know, if you can imagine, how the hell are we supposed to say that we're not on harassment when I've had a friend of mine actually harassed
Mm.
by people who call themselves Gamergaters?
Mm.
Well,
That's got to be
you'll get
that's got
that
to
with
be
an open
addressed.
hashtag.
That has to be addressed, or
Yes.
I can't be
Yes.
part of the whole Gamergate scene. If we're going to be siding with people who don't actually stick to journalistic ethics, I can't be part of it.
Well, I'll say this, Robin. I certainly as an individual won't side with them, and I don't think a lot of people still within Gamergate. I mean, I've seen plenty of calling out for reporting behavior like that. So, you know,
Okay.
I understand. I empathize. It's
I've not done myself any favors, let's say that. You know, I could still be doing the open house thing, pimping out the show on that one and all that sort of
Mm.
business, but we'd rather go it alone. If
Fair
if that's how it's going to be, we're trying to do it right, guys. We're really trying to do it right.
yeah.
But we've got a few people out there that it seems a little bit on the jealous side who are prepared to do it wrong just to basically scupper us.
I
You
want
know?
to make sure that, if and when we do succeed, that we're not replacing one, quote unquote, I'm not going to say, but quote unquote evil with another. We can't be replacing one group of unethical individuals with another. So we have to be very careful and sort of self-police
Well,
and
I'll
say,
say this. I'll say it like this, guys. The one problem for sort of like modern feminism more than anything else is that most cases they've won, and when you've won something, you're supposed to pack up your tools and clear off. And when we got the FTC thing come through, I said this on my closing statement, man. That was when we actually had the big win, because now these sites have to actually adhere to something, otherwise they can be brought up on charge. And now somebody can say, hey, there's an FTC regulation against that. Sorry, you can't do that no more. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. That's
Well,
the big win. That's the big win, and nobody is spouting that, yeah, because there's a lot of people out there that don't want this to finish. And let's say this, I was happy for it to win. Once you've won, that's when you finish. If you carry on, then you end up becoming that evil that you were trying to avoid.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the
Not
plot.
sure we've won as such. Not sure we've won by any stretch of the imagination yet.
No.
It depends on what your win condition is, though, Ian.
Well, yeah, and it's not one that includes a lot of stretch goals.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, even if there's an FTC regulation, there's still a lot of there's still a lot of co-opting within gaming going on their part, and we're not trying
Precisely,
to.
but now that FTC regulation is there, you can cite that, you can show the FTC, you can write to the FTC and say these people have breached this FTC regulation.
But the FTC,
They've handed out the carrot, and they've got the stick ready to go.
the FTC thing, yes, is worth celebrating, and yes, we can use that, and yes, we should use that. But
that
it
should be
only,
shouted from the rooftops daily.
and
We'll see what happens with Gamer Plus, won't we? Because that's their latest sort of offensive, isn't it? And if that fails, as I expect it will flounder and die, then maybe we will be in a more winny state. I'll tell you what, if it had been revealed that if that guy who'd done the Freedom of Information request, if he'd actually turned up again and hadn't been winding people up, that would be a win condition.
Hadn't been
That'd
winding
be
people up. As far as I'm aware, that has yet to bear fruit, that's all.
Yeah, it has yet to bear fruit, but it looked pretty.
There's a certain waiting period, guys.
Sorting through his bag.
Yeah.
Say again.
But
It was pretty comical watching him on the actual stream, sorting through his bag and going, "Oh damn, it's not in here." Sort of like, yeah, right, mate. Thanks.
What are you Are you saying that people from the FBI are somewhat inept?
No, I'm saying that this guy who appeared on Sargon's stream the other night was just winding people up because he really didn't look very convincing. It was really sort of, yeah, okay. There was so little to have credibility in that I really want to see a lot more.
Well,
otherwise, I will dismiss it out of hand as being a load of rubbish. The ball really is.
All I remember was from Oliver Campbell, who had basically said that from what he'd heard, there were people that knew some information, but they were not investigating that information, and all that was required was some Freedom of Information Act requests to be set up, and that information would be available to people.
This guy had probably heard the same thing from Oliver and was like working off that, because I really don't think the guy worked his plan out was like not really his mental doing. He was too thick for that.
Like, really, let's finish this fight. So we can settle on more communicative things like community building and that sort of thing. I'd love to focus on that and just win this fight. So I'm not sure why we haven't or why Gamergate hasn't looked more into the Freedom of Information Act things.
I believe it's a great spur to do that.
Yeah, I believe they're just basically waiting to bear fruit on that, from what I understand. So there have been Freedom of Information Act requests via email and so forth, but they have a certain waiting period.
They will actually have to be bureaucratically processed.
That's right. So that's something that's on the way. The FTC thing, like I said, was the big win. And I'll be perfectly frank with you guys. You're not going to get much else. We're not going to get much else. And as far as a win condition is concerned, I think that's pretty fucking good. As far as changing the law,
changing the concealment.
Pretty good.
Like they have to disclose now, but that doesn't. But they only have to disclose certain things. Is the thing.
Yeah, but they don't have to actually have an ethics agreement on their website anymore. Regardless, they have to. That's the point.
Legal people.
Them just volunteering it now is pointless. Whether they've got an ethics policy on there or not, they still have to actually do it. And that's what I mean by being the big win. You forced their hand now.
Yeah. And it is a big win, but we have to remember that they're still trying actively to take us out of the gaming industry. And we were talking about it earlier. It's their sole interest, and until they stop that, I mean, because let's be honest here, we're not gonna defeat the social justice warriors. It's not gonna happen.
Their ideology.
Exactly. We're not
We shouldn't have to defeat either SJWs or their ideology. We should force them. We should be able to force them to play by the same rules as everyone else, to go by the capitalist markets or whatever, and not be
You
assholes
can't
about
actually force them to be capitalists, really. If they want to give their games away, they can.
it. Well, I mean, capitalist in the sense of
Yeah.
putting their games
Follow
out
the
to
same
market.
rules.
Yeah, follow the same
The
rules.
marketplace of ideas is a barter system. This isn't Walmart.
Yeah.
That's probably the best way to describe it, guys, because when
Yeah.
it comes down to it, there are people out there that wish to do that. But once again, this is not really a Gamergate issue more than anything else. The Gamergate issue is about the ethics policies and ethical standards within gaming journalism. That's what it's about. The other things that you're discussing here are a larger issue that were here before the whole Gamergate thing started, and they will be raging far longer. But what I mean is that you could end up spoiling the whole thing with Gamergate by insisting it being a Gamergate issue. I know that you've got a lot of people out there that are doing that sort of thing, but to be honest with you, it just means that the fight gets stuck.
Still, if we've already won, we can still win some more.
Well, that's that. I'll actually agree with
I've got,
Robin.
Like I said,
I've
we've
got
got to
to
build
pee.
something here, guys. You've got to build something. You've got to go forward with something and actually
I think
replace these people. Not get doing it yourselves. Don't let these people do it for you.
And I think that's the next step. I mean, we've built a great community here just as a sort of matter of course of resisting. Now it's time that because we've built this sort of standing community, we can build on that. And I think that's essentially the next big Gamergate issue is where do we go from here? As you said, these things are great victories, but
These are all things that we've been discussing for the last month or so, guys. It's about look. I've said this from the very beginning. We're not terrorists. We're gardeners. Okay, we're just tending our garden, and when we've got our lovely garden all sorted up, we're going to see other people from other parts of media and stuff like that put their little nose over the top of the fence and kind of go, "Oh, that looks lovely. Maybe I should try it in mine." Okay, you sort out your own fucking garden and let the rest of them see how it looks. And when they see how it looks, they'll want to change it too.
And the state of the
Produce an
garden.
example. You produce an actual example of a decent looking place, and other people will be jealous as hell.
It's already happening.
Argue.
That's right. It's already happening. We're doing it. I mean, personally, I think there was good gamers that came out from there. You got Tech Raptor. You got have a look at the whitelist people out there, mate. Okay.
Yeah.
They're doing their stuff, but there still needs to be more. We need to have enough out there that these people are become completely irrelevant.
And we need to be promoting it ourselves because there's so much going on, and I really wish that people would be sharing it more. I'm always spamming it on the wall, and I wish it would sort of.
There's too many
out there a
people
bit
out there
more.
that think we're all shills and in it for ourselves. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I'm in it to be able to right now. What I'm doing, I'm in it so I can actually tick over as a job.
We're in it
That's
to be
right.
doing
That's right. Yeah,
right.
I want to do it as a job. I want to work this. I can't rely on bloody Patreons.
mm,
We want to get people who are willing to advertise with us. We want to do this. We want to do that. And we want to go forward. We want to get a website together. We want to do it. We're doing it not so much the Jenny Barrage way, but we're looking to build up a platform and a place where I'm sharing like Payday 2 videos of how to do shit on stealth with a lot of the guys from the open house and stuff like that. Have a look at it, and just sort of like just building up stuff.
Yeah.
And just saying, it's we're there to have fun. That's what it's all about. It's just pissing about and having a laugh and keeping yourself entertained. It's entertainment for crying out loud.
Yeah,
I just went out and saw Interstellar. Have you seen that?
Oh no, I want to though.
It's a good film. It's long, but it's worth it. Yeah,
Good.
loads of different concepts and stuff like that. Yeah, be a terrible game though.
Yeah, proper sci-fi,
Loads
is
of
it?
it's sci-fi. It's got a bit of intrigue, a bit of sort of like it's a bit sad. It's a little romantic in places. It's quite sort of like spooky in other places. It's all over the shop. It's great, but it would make a terrible game. There are some books out there that don't make good films. There's some games out there that don't make good films. There's some films out there that don't make good games. That's the reason why they're separated.
There's some people out there that don't make good games. There's Zoe Quinn.
But yeah, what I'm trying to say is that the reason that these mediums are different is because there's different concepts that work in different places, you know. And right now, yeah, bad journalism doesn't work in gaming because we need consumer advocates. We need somebody to have grown up ideas coming in with this now because it's a grown up place. We've grown.
Yeah. And what we've done is we've torn a lot down as a part of this, and now it's time we replace it with something nice. We rebuild the city. We
That's
rebuild
right.
it into something.
We've had our little adolescent scratch fest, and now we need to put on a decent shirt and tie and get a proper job.
You wanted to get off, didn't you, man? They'll drag you into this
I
all
know, but
night.
I'm addicted to conversation.
Yeah, it's true enough. I do love podcasts. They're
I
good
need
fun.
to be heard by 7 people.
What I like about podcasts is that more often than not, you seem to lose a lot of the rudeness that you get in just say simple internet conversations with random people on the net. I mean, because there's less, because other people are listening to you, and you're in a sort of grown-up environment. People behave better. Whereas I'm sure on Twitter they'd just be arguing like Billy O and getting.
Oh yeah, fucking Ebola Chan, that little bitch.
Right.
Just always such a catty little fucker. I said, come onto my open house. Come onto my open house. You can spit your vitriol all you like, and we'll talk to you, talk back. And he's like, no, I'll just destroy you. You just destroyed yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's some right little whiny maggots out there on
Right,
both
yeah.
sides of this. Let's not make any mistakes here. Yeah, there's plenty of
No.
people that we'd like off our side.
Rogue Shark. Those people.
And this is the problem a lot of us have in Gamergate is, of course, we're a leaderless movement, all that sort of business. And as I say, it's just a hashtag. And you know what? You guys have got bigger battles to fight. You don't need that particular hashtag to do that. And if you want to go forward, there's time. Like I said, there's times when you want to actually pack up your bags and move on to another field, and leave the gaming circuit alone and move on to more pressing issues because it's just games at the end of the day.
See, these things, like I said, they are so intersectional.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, well, we're just gonna rise above that, man. We're gonna be the cream. We're just gonna rise up from all of this crap here. Yeah, I know shit floats, but there's no other way of doing it. You can't just basically you're arguing with idiots, so they're just gonna lower you to their level and beat you with experience.
Well, not everyone actually even argues with them, and they try and hold the conversation around them and away from them.
Yeah, but you shouldn't. We're not here to have a go at women. I mean, when I'm talking to a lot of these people, I just go, child,
no, certainly not. I mean,
child, you know not of which you speak, because these are just
I think
children.
more oppose the toxicity that these people have brought to all the communities that they've touched, and that's what they fear happening, and that's going to happen with or without journalistic integrity, and that's people's big fear, and they're going to resist that at whatever level.
Yeah, that's what me and Steve are doing. That's what me and Steve are doing. We're basically just dousing this and diluting it with some nice, clean, refreshing water.
No, certainly. I mean, once your link gets up, certainly, either like give it to me over like Facebook, the link over Facebook or something like that, because I'd be very interested in your work.
Oh, dude. I'll tell you what, yeah. First episode, we got Sean Allen from IGN. The former community manager of IG fucking N. That's who Steve's got on his Rolodeck, man. We can get hold of some really decent people, and who have got really, really interesting things to say. And are actually, on the first episode, for example, they were really advocating Gamergate, and really talking about our detractors more than us. But they were still turning around and saying, look, if you've got people in your group called Fart to Continue as your advocates, you're not necessarily going to get that far. And I do understand that principle, but they were also turning around and saying, yeah, you're not really grown up when you're basically saying, well, I did a great thing today because I told a Gamergator to go fuck himself. And it's the vitriol and the spite and all that bullshit that doesn't need to happen, and that's why we're trying to cool that down. A lot of people want to burn the fucking forest down, man. But you ask Steve about that, yeah. The first thing he thinks to do is think, you know what? I need to plant some flowers in these ashes now. It's very easy to destroy. It's very, very difficult to build. But yeah, have a go on the first episode. There's that one, guys. You have a look at that. That'll keep you tickled.
Mm.
Oh yeah, certainly.
But yeah, I got a book. I gotta go. I gotta go to bed.
All
Knackered. What was your name again? Richard, isn't it? Robert. Begging your pardon.
Robert.
Yeah, Robert. Get yourself up early in the morning, mate. I'll be about sort of 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, something like that. Oh no, it'll be too early for you. About 2 o'clock in the afternoon for me is about 6 or 7 for you. Get yourself up early in the morning, man, and I'll show you how to use OBS.
Okay, yeah, I will. Yeah, so currently,
Set your alarm. Set your bloody alarm.
Yeah, so currently I'm at. So I mean, the podcast is set at PST mostly because of stupid YouTube, but I'm at MST. So go ahead and just
Midwesterner.
yeah, Arizona. So
Oh, I got a few. AJ, one of the guys who works with us, he's over in Arizona.
Oh, nice.
No, it's not.
Pain in the arse, isn't it?
Is anyone here? So how's Arizona then? Not a lot of people. Anyway. No, dude. Yeah.
Right. Go ahead and just, I guess, private
download the software. That's the first thing. OBS. Yeah. Look into it, dude. And I'll get you hooked up and give you a sort of like an easy to do understanding. You can get it on. You put yourself on Twitch. You can put yourself on YouTube. All that sort of business. You'd be sweet.
All right, sounds good.
Nice
Thanks.
I'm not doing the fucking graphics for you, mind. You're gonna have to do that for yourself.
I do all my own my graphics. I have a certain flair of cheap paint.net painting to.
Perfect. That'll go down well. But really nice to have me on, guys. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on. This was awesome.
Take it easy, guys. Speak to you soon.
Take it easy, man.
Right,
See you soon.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye, man. Excellent. Yeah, that OBS thing, it probably is the way forward. I've got it myself, but I've just not bothered using it.
Yeah, I mean, I need to find an alternative to this because this has just been too problematic for me. So yeah, I'll need to look into that.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. It looks. I noticed on one of V Monroe's videos earlier that he was using it. For some reason, he'd left the window all up and he was filming his own desktop and that kind of thing. But presumably, you don't need to have to do that. Because if you looked at any of their podcasts, the morning show podcasts that Robin was talking about, they were very good. They had all sort of inlays, and they could overlay the chat from, say, the YouTube chat on a live stream over the actual stream, which is quite funky. And there are little bits like that. And of course, people seem to be using these odd little plug-in things on themselves to like alter themselves into cats and stuff. It was a bit odd in some places, but it's all interesting. It was all good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to at least see the comments because it's a little difficult running both.
Yeah. Oh, Samantha dropped off as well, did she?
Yeah, she you guys were going at it, and she had to go to bed, so.
Oh, it's a shame. I should have got to say goodnight. Ah, cool. We probably should.
Yeah, I mean, it's. Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, like, it's really. I did enjoy like his like analysis with like the garden and everything, but it just seems to me that the garden in this case is there are SJWs trying to plant carrots when it's a potato garden.
Yeah.
Thing.
And I think we've joined a larger conversation too. I think that, yeah, what Robin's saying is absolutely true if we were still at the stage we started at so many months ago. But we're at the point now where we are we are in the thick of it with the SJWs. I mean, they have their eyes fixed on us. We're part of
Mm.
this, and that's why all these groups, like we were talking way in the beginning of the stream, like even fringe groups like Return of Kings are coming into it. We have MRAs in the movement.
Mm.
We have liberals in the movement. We have so many people in the movement now because they're seeing that this is where the SJWs. We've joined this greater conversation. So yeah,
Mm.
Gamergate. A lot of Gamergate's individual goals are accomplished, and Robin's absolutely right. We should be sharing these things from the rooftops. But at the same
Yeah.
time, we have the standing community that's part of a greater conflict between rationality and SJW ideology. And I
And
think that's sorry.
yeah, and the thing is, I mean, just to sort of go off of that, I mean, Gamergate has been the first successful insurrection against SJWs. Atheism,
That's right.
Mm.
atheism, stood, but just barely. Tabletop didn't stand at all. You know, yeah,
Yeah. And they put their czar Will Wheaton in charge of it all.
yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
universities didn't stand, governments haven't stand, gaming stood, and so
Yeah,
that's why you have all the exiles from all these different groups coming on. It's no
exactly.
longer necessarily about gaming, but I'm not sure if that's a bad thing or not.
Yeah, and we can rally these people now. I mean, because we've shown that we are willing and we can put up a fight against these people, that we can
Mm.
do this. I mean, we've proven that the SJWs won't win every single fight they pick. We've proven that, we're not going to take it lying down. And like you said, because we're getting all these refugee groups, we can build a standing community now to wage a greater conflict. So yeah, in our current form, we're not going to do well against the SJWs in the larger whole, but if we go on, if we build our community now, if we try to rebuild what has been taken down and we try to go forward with that, we can restore rationality. And I know I'm being lofty here. I know I'm being,
Mm.
very histrionic in it all, but think
Oh
about it. Think
no.
about it.
Yeah.
It's a
No, no, it's
possibility.
no.
And I mean, I will be the first one to jump out of this at the point where we start doing anything, any remotely close to feminism. If we start trying to actually kick, SJWs who have decent projects or trying to, go towards only their own demographics, if we start trying to kick them in the teeth, I will start denouncing those sorts of things because
Absolutely.
that's not what
Mm.
Gamergate is,
Yeah.
or at least in my own personal sense, I suppose it differs person to person. But that's the thing. We're still individuals, just within the open hashtag.
Yeah. And people that are like the hacker that attacked Robin's friend. I mean, we have to be careful about this because people are watching us. They're saying these people are misogynist. These people are. We have to make sure that we're not those people. We have to prove them wrong, and we're not
Mm.
going to do that by being apologists towards people who would act in these ways.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, we shouldn't be we shouldn't be having that shield paranoia and tone police and becoming the same sort of evil that we fought. So we have to. It's a balancing act. But that's the difficulty about being the sort of right side of things, is that you're not
Yeah.
able to go all out on one thing or another. You are sort of bound by that balancing act, and I think that's very important because we are a balancing force within the industry, within the conversation, within the greater conversation. We have to remind ourselves that that's
Yeah.
what we're about.
The type of people who are watching us for in order to pick up a model of how to fight back against SJWs. The people who are interested in political strategy, who are watching Gamergate, those are not the kind of people who are moved by public line of Gamergate being about misogyny. They don't care about that. They know it's bullshit and it's completely a side issue to them. What they're
Mm.
interested in is political strategy, and we're providing a model for people to fight back against something that no one has ever been able to fight against with anything other than real force in the past.
Yeah.
For the
Mm.
first time in history, third wave feminism, extreme Marxist cultural critical theory actually can be
Mm.
fought without drawing blood. And
Yeah.
that is what Gamergate has provided. Um, and
Mm.
that's, I mean,
Yeah. Truly has.
It's a diamond in the rough.
Exactly.
It's a diamond in the rough.
And we're such an exception to the rule. I mean, we've seen movements far more established, far stronger than ourselves, crumble, collapse, get taken over. For some reason, we've managed to, it's like the Kingdom of Prussia, like we've managed to turn a small, little, insignificant area into a major force. And I think it's time we really capitalized on that, not to an extent where we're becoming, like I said, becoming the evil that we seek to eliminate, but certainly focus on the good of it and try to build ourselves, because we're still small, we're still scrapping it out, and the foe we're fighting is so well connected. I mean, these are
We're
wealthy
not
kids.
small. The thing is, we're not small. We are not small. We are getting, we are getting things done.
No,
So
no.
I think we shouldn't fall into the trap of
No.
saying, oh, it's just, a small group of people. No, it's
No. What I'm saying is that we're relatively small compared to the influence that we're fighting against. Like we have thousands, tens of thousands of people backing Gamergate, and a lot of big names to boot. But in the overall sort of, I mean, just look at the sort of balance of power right now. I mean, you can't do an internet search. You can't look into media without us being demonized somewhere. So what we're up against is big. Numbers wise, yeah, we're huge. I'm not going to start getting defeatist here and saying, oh, we're just 200 people making a small difference. No, we are a group. We are a fairly sizable group. And I'm saying that what we're up against is so much larger than ourselves, and that's what we have to remember.
what we're up against. I mean, what we're up against. I think. Well, I think there is a point. I think there is a point in futility. Unfortunately, I think trying to get Fox News to not run a hit piece on King of Pole is going to be near impossible for Gamergate. I don't think we should, and so I don't think we should attempt things we cannot do.
As of yet, I mean, we can't do a lot yet, but that's where building the community comes in. I think it's like, yeah, as we stand now, if we become more connected, sort of opt Skynet on an even grander scale and become a more interwoven, interconnected movement, absolutely we can do these things. But yeah, you're right. As we stand now, we can't possibly have these loftier goals. But if we start building, as Robin said, building up from where we were, we can absolutely do loftier things. Absolutely.
Right.
We're going to need a currency, a road system. Then I suggest marriage.
Well, what we should start with is a big leadership council.
Yes.
Yes,
And
exactly.
crowns.
That's the thing we need. Indirect democracy. It's worked out so well for the United States.
Well, in the past. Yeah.
Yeah. We shall fly our green and purple banner, and it will be great. As the Jedi Council of Sargon, Mundane Matt, and a few other people rule over us, console peasants.
All before us. Yes.
And then we shall take over the entirety of the United States internet and create our own country where you must.
Sky.
And while we're at it, we can start expanding to other mediums and enforcing our will on those media.
Yeah, exactly.
Satellites is all very well, but we need a battle cruiser. We need something big.
Well, we need at least as many aircraft carriers as China does.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Let's build one, maybe two. Get some aircraft off the platform and start doing something.
Then the media will take us seriously.
They'll have to, or else we'll destroy them.
Destroy them, yeah. Tomahawks flying down wherever your newspaper industry is.
We'll build a Death Star over the planet, and if they refuse our demands, we will blow this planet to shreds like Alderaan.
That's the real satellite. That's what the satellite is preparing for. Solution 6.
This is just our Sputnik. What we're doing now. That's just our Sputnik. They don't even know our endgame.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to our Star Wars yet.
Don't tell them about my earthquake generator that's going to sink San Francisco into the sea.
It's too bad about our headquarters, But you know what?
Oh, it was destroyed. I heard. What happened there?
Yeah, trolls literally came in and apparently destroyed, our headquarters, our brick and mortar headquarters.
Like literal fantasy trolls came into
literal fantasy. Yeah.
They came in with their we're generating skin and weakness to fire and all that fun stuff, and they just came in and trashed it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, but we can rebuild. We can be stronger. We can go against the GNAA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what'll stop? Trolls are really stopped by surface to air missiles. So I think we should build surface to air platforms on the
Yeah.
coastline.
Exactly. Paint them, a nice purple and green. We can name the first big nuclear one, like Big Vivian or something like that.
Big Viv, yes. Oh, she'll love that. Yeah. She'll be fighting in space against the, I don't know, Wagoner Baptist Church or whatever they're called. Yeah.
I can't wait till the day we get our regime, so we can. I'm just imagining the large PR campaign. Vivian's always watching you.
Mm.
We can
Yeah,
have her
they'll-
looking
they'll-
like Chairman Mao, We can have her standing over a field with these inspired looks of gamers as they battle against the hordes. It'll be fun. We'll have a whole propaganda scheme.
Exactly. Instead of the sword and sickle, we can have the controller and PC. It'll
yeah.
be perfect.
Oh, I could just picture us 2 centuries from now. This sort of going on this grander scale,
Yeah. In a galaxy
And-
far, far away.
and we're in history textbooks, and we're all, we're revolutionary heroes.
The Primarchs of Gamergate. Yes.
Yeah.
Revolutionaries of the internet, the digital. Suddenly, we found our an entire branch of sociology called digital sociology.
Well, I'll tell you,
And,
this is interesting. Yeah, I was looking at some analytics on Twitter the other day because I'd seen other people doing that, and I thought I'd better get the hang of it. And I looked at Sargon of Akkad, and of course that's numerous topics really, because it's not just the YouTuber. There also was the historical figure, obviously. And I saw two big spikes in it. One huge one, which I had a look at, and I think it was the time they spoke with Georgie Tate, and there was a lot of talk about.
well, that was fun. Where he even after I saw a short little clip from it, and they were talking about not your shield. And at the end of it, Jordy Tate was still like, "Yeah, gamer gators are evil." Like,
Iggy. It's just like, oh well, thanks, bastard. You pretty much said we're wankers, and we've just been sitting and chatting with you for about the last 2 hours. Yeah.
like,
But anyway, this spike, yeah, there was this big spike which was huge, and then there was a smaller spike, and the smaller spike was the discovery of a burial mask or some sort of ceremonial mask that they thought might have belonged to Sargon of Akkad. Now the discovery of that was a tiny little spike, but like Sargon of Akkad talking to Geordie Tate or whatever about the Holocaust, that got everybody's interest.
so
That was
so
like,
our
oh my
Sargon has replaced the historical Sargon in importance.
Yes.
Excellent.
I-
So
I
Beacon
think-
6 is working.
See, my opinion is we should rewrite history to say that the actual historical Sargon of Akkad came back to life
Yes.
and led us, and he was so badass, like if you ever seen Sargon's video on him, he was just so badass that he came back from the dead thousands of years later and
Yeah.
helped Gamergate.
Yeah, because he had some ancient fight with the Sarkeesian family or something, and it brought him back or something like with great divine provenance and shifting
Exactly.
of planets.
That would
Yeah.
be great until we find out that the actual Sargon of Akkad looks like Sean Wallace in real life. There's some diminutive,
Yeah, the tiny little
diminutive
fuck with
bald-
like ears the size of fucking dinner plates, and yeah, it's possible, I suppose. Although
Then
he
we
it sounds
just
like
have
he
to sort of live with our.
yeah,
Then we'd be experiencing buyer's remorse.
buys more of that, yeah. But yeah, that surprised me to see him so. I've been quite enjoying the Twitter metrics. It's like you can just look at it. Doesn't really ever say anything about anything, but it does look interesting.
It
Sit there and
looks
think
it looks
about.
promising. Like that's the major thing. Like everyone's been quote like showing the world map of where everyone from Gamergate is. It's still
Yeah.
primarily in the first in like United States and Britain. Basically the same metrics where not all women were from. the same hashtag, it looks suspiciously like the same areas are most active in it. So it's like people quoting it. It's really a strange phenomena to me.
Any particular places that seem, what's the word, more uh, prone to that then? Where is the biggest Gamergate concentration? Is it
The U.S. I think from the last time
just
I
the US
checked.
in general? Yeah. So it's hard to interpret country by country, but I was wondering if there was any sort of particular area in America that like it's
Oh
sort of
no.
Gamergated. No. Oh well.
Yeah, I was just wondering the other day, is there any Gamergate activity in, say, Japan? Outside of the
Oh.
Western world, is there
Oh yeah.
anything going on at all?
Well,
How's
I
it gonna
mean,
go on?
Japan, yeah. Well, Japan is. I mean, we've already seen some interest from Japan. We've seen, a song from the Voices of Sega.
True.
We've, they've even, I think, recently started attacking, anime in general.
Oh,
And like,
that
Oh
was
yeah.
stupid. Oh man, that was really stupid.
yeah, like, I mean, it was. I mean, I think it was just a couple of tweets, but still, it was like, if that doesn't bring a few Japanese people into it, it's like I don't know what will.
Or at least some weeaboos. I mean, we can incorporate them into the grand sort of horde. You know.
Oh yes.
I, I
They'll
don't
be
I don't think that they have feminism anywhere near to the degree that we have it
Oh,
locally
nowhere
for you.
close. And
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's
the
mostly a Western phenomenon because it's
Yeah,
where the main sort of feminist force is coming from.
yeah.
I mean,
It's other places it's taking it
yeah,
off.
yeah.
It's taking off in, like, for example, India, but it's taking off in India because women already had a bunch of power there, and now using the victim narrative, now even the courts have started to sort of say, we need to back off. No, it's starting to
this is getting
adversely
crazy.
affect the situation. Yeah.
Mm,
Which the
that's
good
fair
news
enough.
is the MRA, actually the MRA presence in India is actually a bit stronger than the U.S.
It's true. It's amazing, isn't it? But
yeah.
it's like this is why people they're always having to go at MRAs saying all these terrible white neckbeards and that kind of thing, and I think no, 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 no. Most of the MRA are from India, mate. Like they have these big moustaches and they're brown. They're not white with neckbeards, mate. And like, of course, you dare not say that because it would be horrible.
And they're far
Um,
more extreme too. Like they're far more masculinist because of the things that are going on than United States
yeah,
MRAs.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that's that Americentralization, I think, that we're seeing. It's like America is the be all and end all of it all. So it has to be white people because white people are America. You know, it's
Mm.
No one thinks about the African Americans apparently.
especially the African American president, or whatever. But just like it's like yeah, like oh yeah, it's all white people with all the power, and it's all like um, you know, just saying. But it's
Yeah,
it's like I was saying before, it has nothing to do with the actual claims. It's part of a story that they're telling everyone
Yeah.
who's stupid enough to listen. So. When you break it down, it's. I mean, and the thing has been, I think we all signed up to defend games, but what we ended up doing is joining this greater picture, this greater landscape of conflict, and that's
Well,
that's.
well,
Sorry.
I signed up. I mean, like I said previously, I've been here in basically every major sphere that SJWs have shown their faces. So, I mean, you could say this is a tale of revenge as well for me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And like I was saying, like way before, I've been following this for the last 5 years or so.
mm,
Since I was still a kid, like a teenager. But yeah, so it's like I've seen this firsthand in all spheres, academia,
mm,
atheism. Here's just like as I see it, like, and this is the perspective I'm coming from. Is it's much more. I see as just another chapter in this greater campaign of activities. So I can see an end
Yeah,
to Gamergate and a movement on to something else. And I'll be
yeah.
mm,
involved there too. I mean, when Gamergate's over, I'm not done. I'm not packing up and going home. I'm
Mm.
I'm I'm going where the
Mhm.
SGWs are going next to make sure they don't co-opt that thing. If it's anime, it's anime. If it's books, it's books. I mean, as long as it's something I support, obviously. Like like if I'm not gonna defend something that I'm not like. If they attack basketball or something, I'm not. It's not gonna be
No,
something I'm interested in.
Which they already
kind of
have.
difficult, wouldn't it?
That's actually another one of the NFL
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
sports.
true. They do go
And
for sport a lot, don't they?
And I'm not
Yeah.
going to get involved in that because that's not something I'm interested in. But if they go after books, per se, I'm going to be
Yeah.
there too because I love reading. It's if as long as they keep attacking things I love, I'm going to be there on the front line saying, this isn't right. So as I
Mm.
see it, I love video games, and it's something to get the stress of everyday life off.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way, and that's why Gamergate is so important, is because
Mm.
we're building the weapon that can hurt them. And
Yes.
and to me, the battleground is the self-esteems of little boys.
I beg your
Um,
pardon? Did you say
it's
the battleground is
this
little boys?
The self-esteem of little
it's the
boys.
Ah, yes.
self-esteem
Fair
of little
enough.
boys. All the little all the little
Yes.
boys who are coming up now, who are in danger of being convinced that there is a Mr. Hyde hiding in their pants.
I
Um,
beg your- no,
those are
where are
the
we
people.
going with this now?
Those are the
We don't want
what I'm
Nambla on our side, right? Like,
Yeah.
no. I'm saying that
Sorry.
we don't want any more little boys growing up thinking that there's something wrong with them because they're boys.
yeah.
Mm,
Like, look at that.
absolutely.
I'm sure
Because
we all saw
that
the presentation a while ago of that boy who was saying all those things that he was ashamed of. That he can't be a mother, that he always smells bad and stuff like
right.
that.
Mm,
We don't want the next generation to come up like that. Like my generation is screwed as it is. Millennials, we're screwed because we've been so corrupted by this ideology. Imagine fully
Right.
enforced ideology in the next generation. It'll be a mess.
mm,
Which I mean,
Speaking, you
it,
know,
the good news there. The good news is that it can never fully take over, mostly because of anti SGW the anti SGW movement.
mm. Which could be used being bigger.
Yeah.
right.
I suppose it is now to an extent. There are sort of people realise that there's all sorts of different aspects to this anti-SJW thing, and that everyone are pushing sort of in the same direction from different camps, from different areas, and I think that kind of quite works.
Yeah.
As long as there's a sufficiently uh, loud voice out there somewhere that's telling young boys that that
Mm,
helping them resist the demonization, to resist being demonized, just so that just something that they can cling on to, however faint. As long as they hear it, it will be enough for them to
mm.
know that they are not destined to become rapists,
Yeah,
because that's the
Yeah,
message they're pushing with their "Don't be that guy" campaign and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's absolutely horrid.
yeah, yeah. They seek to demonise everyone, not just um,
and campaigns like that.
rapists.
And the saddest part is campaigns like that probably don't realize what they're doing. They think that it's that
Mm,
they don't see the full impact of such a statement like that. Which I know tone policing is a bit nitpicky, but it still is a sad thing when you have absolute idiots basically producing running the asylum, to use a phrase that I've heard on several MRA forums.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I was going to say something that's just totally slipped out of my head because in the background I'm watching somebody else's Let's Play of space engineers where they've built this fucking bizarre crap sort of vehicle with some sort of odd tail on it, which they're calling the Very Heavy Scorpion Paperweight. Presumably it never works. So that's what drew me here, basically. I thought, this is never going to get off the ground. Oh, they attached gravity cubes and it's just pulled itself through the deck. That wasn't
which
one.
which by the way, if I get I'm poor right now, but if I get enough for the from the holidays, I'm
Ah,
that's
yeah.
that's the game I'm investing in. So
Oh, it's been totally worth it, as I see it. I mean, give it a week just playing it on vanilla before you go for the mods, and you are going to need YouTube to teach you how to do it from the start. It is far too complicated. But you quite quickly get the keyboard controls and that kind of thing. It's moving stuff around in the rotational stuff because we've got to use these 6 keys up next to the number pad.
Right. Okay.
And so you'll place a block, and you place this. You know, in Minecraft, you just bang a block down. It's the same everywhere. In this,
Yeah.
it's placing on every block. I mean, some of them are half blocks, quarter triangles, and this kind of thing. So you're always flicking stuff around and going, no, I want it up, no, over, no, back. It's like bloody Rubik's cubes to an extent some of the time. But then one day you'll just magically sort of get it, and then you're just like dit, and block, block, block. And of course, you'd be using the symmetry mode and stuff. It really speeds things up. There's so many tools and ideas that just have never occurred to things like Minecraft.
Well, and yeah, in Minecraft, I mean, it's actually rather simplistic. I mean, of a game, which is one reason why it appeals to so many. So yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to seeing how different crafting systems are used.
Yeah.
Most of my other games are like 3 or 4 years old, so like I'm literally trying to beat Fez right now, and it's
Oh, bad luck. Yeah, I've got Fez, but I've never played it.
it's difficult actually. Like
Is it?
the various things you have to collect are literally like tucked out of sight, where you'll never know.
Yeah, yeah. Irritating, annoying. Ooh, is that a good way to describe it?
Well, at least for me,
Secretive.
I've I wouldn't feel bad if you had to use YouTube to solve some of the puzzles, because it's like he even made up a language, and it's such a pretentious language as well that's completely unreadable.
Yeah.
So you
I wonder
have
where he got that idea from.
Oh,
so it's like games like that. So it's like I haven't actually got up to the point. I haven't got up to the era of crafting yet.
No.
Besides Minecraft.
Well, fantastic. Well, I'll tell you, Chris in the group plays it, I believe, and Andre plays it, and I've got an open invitation to both of them to come and join me. And I've set my current save to friends, so anyone who's on my Steam friends list can just give us a yell, and I'll turn on my space engineers, and they can jump in.
Yeah.
I tried building. I'd set it to public originally rather than friends, and I tried building this sort of Gamergate base in all like the purpley green and this kind of thing, and I'd like put all these cool posters in it and fruit machines and pool tables and stuff. I'd really turned it into what you'd imagine to be the ideal boys' gang hangout thing. And then I had it on public, and then like I just saw a little flicker in the screen at the bottom of the screen, a message come up, and I didn't really look at it. It wasn't a message; it was just some notification. And I was fiddling around doing something behind this asteroid, and I didn't really bother about it. And then I tabbed out for a while, and then I heard this noise, and I thought, "What the fuck is that?" Like, so I tabbed back in, and there's this bloke hovering around in his spacecraft thing, destroying my fucking base with his massive lasers on the front, and I'm just like, wait, excuse me, can you, like, and anyway, he sort of totally ignores me, and, like, he's destroying my base away, and I was like, okay, fair enough. I was spawned in a Henry that already had a bunch of Star Wars weaponry on, so there was something on it, and we went and had a go at it, and it didn't come off so well. I blew bits of him off, he blew bits of me off, and then we crashed, and it knocked my cockpit off, so I was just floating around in the sky. So I just hovered over to his ship and just deleted the block that was his cockpit, which obviously turned his thing off and sort of logged him out. And then I thought, oh bugger this, it's all getting a bit weird. I just logged out and came back to the group because someone was talking to me, and I just thought, well, don't leave it on public in future.
Yeah, that's probably not the best idea. I think like some museum has like opened up like an entire Minecraft server for free.
Yeah.
yeah, the Museum of Science Fiction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I really wonder how they're going to stop griefing, because I mean, not even like what country did
Yeah.
made their own Minecraft, recreation as well, and it totally got, griefed by Americans.
It was something like Sweden or Norway, and a load of Americans appeared and started nerd polling and building big stars and stripes flags and USA. Just like
Well, if it's Sweden, they kind
So
of
embarrassing.
deserved it, you know.
possibly, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Could have
it's
been.
funny how many people still think that they're trying to pass a law to prevent men from standing while peeing. There's a lot of people still think that's a joke. Who think that's just an internet thing.
No.
Like it surprises people still. Like I was surprised, but it still surprises a lot of people. It's like, wait, Sweden's actually trying to do that? They're
Mm.
actually
Yeah.
trying to go through with this? You know,
On,
it's
on one hand, I can't help but like some of the things that Sweden does. Like, I actually like their education system more than the U.S. But then they go and do stuff like that, and it's like, no,
well,
you're drinking the Kool-Aid.
who you'd really like is Denmark because they got all the nice stuff of Sweden without a lot of the SGW crap. I mean, it's Denmark consistently ranks highest in happiness, highest in the general income.
Well-being of the populace. Oh,
Yeah,
income.
exactly. Yeah, they've pretty evenly distributed income, I think. They're not so friendly to foreigners. I like as a general thing, like Danish people I've met are absolutely fantastic. But I mean, like as a country,
Yeah.
their administration isn't very friendly towards immigration.
No,
Um,
but I mean it's a I mean it's a difficult situation, especially since again, it's dealing with a lot of the same stuff that Gamergate is dealing with. There's a certain amount of disagreement on what the culture should be, essentially.
Well, no, there
And
isn't really, not in the culture. The culture's been forming quite nicely for many, many years, and it's quite a good, fun place, and was having all these conversations before they appeared. I mean, that's the way I feel, anyway.
well, right. I mean, to a degree, but I mean, you then have how do you deal with foreign holidays and people who don't hold the same values, essentially, who just want who want nothing to do with the various
Yeah.
institutions, or demand.
Oh, I suppose in that respect, it does sort of match up in that uh, yeah, and you see, I wouldn't like to conflate ever Gamergate with issues like immigration because,
No, of course not, but you know
yeah. But if, say, an ideological race of people were coming and invading Denmark, to make Denmark better for, I don't know. I don't know.
how do you word this without sounding racist?
Exactly.
We'll say Martians just to be safe.
use the South Park example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Martians. Oh. What time is it here? It's 3:30.
Yeah. No, it's getting a little late. And it's funny, we meant to talk about the 25, the list of 25 things, but I think our agenda kind of got a little sidetracked because, but I mean, it's great listening to Robin speak because he has so many good things to say.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he's very good at saying them.
Yeah, exactly. It was awe-inspiring to hear him talk. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah, I've just seen something, a Ralph retort saying that Roguestar has wings clipped by special snowflake Brianna Wu. What's this about? He's been suspended.
his second suspension. I don't.
Yeah.
It probably for the flailing around the claim. Oh, I have anti-Gamergate names and $5,000 and
Or it could be, his extortion attempts. Yeah, my God. Like, what are you up to, man? Honestly.
it's like, yeah, you're being stupid. Sorry.
Yeah, apparently he was reported for targeted abuse and was suspended minutes later. It says here.
Well, okay, well, you deserve to be. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's pissed in his chips a bit here.
I mean, on one hand, I can understand. I mean, he is friends with, IA and
Mm.
Pohl, and both of them have been going a bit batshit crazy. So he's been sort of drawn into the mix. So as a result, he's gone batshit crazy. But at the same time, it's like, no, if you're no good to Gamergate anymore, we're gonna drop you like a stone, fucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that whole element too that I and King of Pol were kind of part of. I don't want to say Chan culture, but like,
Hello?
Yeah.
hey, how's it
Hey.
going? Like, I don't want to say Chan culture, but like, it was the more extreme element, I guess you could say, that they were part of.
He is friends with, someone, yeah, go and pause the video there. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's like this not extremist, but this more radical element of the movement, and they're starting to really fall apart. And that's just kind of what IA and Pol, especially Pol, was kind of part of, was this sort of more extreme sect within Gamergate, I think.
Yeah, that was the real issue. People who probably shouldn't have become famous became famous, shooting
I'm
their
not gonna
mouth
say
off.
I'm not gonna say shouldn't. I mean, people like IA, for instance, had a lot of good things to say.
Right,
Um,
he had a lot of good things to say, but I love the way that Mundane Matt put this. He was a sniper. He
exactly.
came up, popped out the information, and disappeared.
I don't know what happened there with that chap that popped in.
Oh, he was from Facebook.
All right, just accidentally or something.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
he wandered in, and I thought it was a good idea, but apparently, yeah,
Okay. No problem. Cool.
sorry about that, dude. Sorry about that, dude, Des. But yeah, but so once IA comes out in the spotlight more constantly, he starts shooting his mouth off. He starts,
Yeah.
bringing out his anti-money biases, and
Right.
yeah, it's not a very good. It's not a very good thing.
Yeah, especially like Pol has this, like, not King of Pol, but specifically the board Pol has this sort of bad rap
Yeah.
already for its very anti-Semitic, some would say neo-Nazi standpoint, and that's kind of problematic. Because we were talking about hackers earlier. It's like I'm not comparing them to hackers, but I'm saying is that when you have elements of a movement that are less I guess you could say, you get a generalization. And so, there's
Yeah.
comparing us to Nazis or comparing us to the KKK, when we have members of our movement who are kind of tacitly supporting the KKK and the Nazis,
Hello?
Yeah.
Hey, Des. We
Hello.
can hear you.
We can hear you, man. So,
Excellent.
and so like Monday Matt hit it straight on. It's like when I made a point, we made a direct point when it came to Gamergate, like his Tumblrs and his video, and the one, especially the ones that he did on Gamergate specifically, and the Zoe Quinn, the conspiracy, were very good because he stayed on target and he stayed on point. But it's that death of the author argument. It's like, yeah, you can love the work but not really like the person. The things he had to say, in general, may have really been detrimental to the movement. But as his work, no one knew Tumblr as well as he did. No one had that sort of that precision that he did.
And
Yeah.
That's
and
what we're missing.
and those weren't Gamergate involved. That was Tumblr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Des, we can hear you. Is your connection is your connection good, or you keep coming in and dropping out, mate?
Now we can't hear him.
Excellent. Perhaps he's got mute on his actual headset or something. Sometimes that'll do it.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So So I mean, he was a really good investigator, but when you start, there are views that just weren't very comparable to basically a wider movement. It's even like people like Robin, we're interested in more limited movement, and when you start getting out of that more limited movement, when things start evolving, suddenly the purists aren't going to be as as
Willing to listen.
I
good.
think
We're
Yeah,
willing to listen.
yeah, and that's the thing. Is because they were so extremist. I mean, the views that they were purporting and were willing to say. I mean, yeah, it wasn't related to Gamergate, but I mean, the drunk stream is just an example of that. And it's like, how do you sort of have a movement with people who are reasonable and moderate, like Sargon, Robin, things like that, and have a movement at the same time with those extreme elements who say and do these things, you know, despite the value in their work. And that was the problem that we really saw with IA, King of Pole, etc. Is like, yeah, points, but as a whole, they were rowdy. I mean, to put it bluntly, they were rowdy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they were the drunkards who basically, well, not, to put it metaphorically, they're the drunkards who started the fight, and but didn't have enough coordination to carry it through when it starts
There's
going
a
out into the
saying,
street.
finish what you started.
Well, right, but I mean, if you can't, I mean, what happens when you can't finish what you started, or when suddenly what if finishing what you started means you hurt that movement?
Yeah.
Well, then pass on the mantle to someone who can finish what you started with your original idea. I mean, if you are still on the movement and you're going to destroy it, I mean, it's better that you leave it for someone who can carry on your former vision without you causing any harm to the project. So in the end, you would see your project finished, but without you as a how can I say this, a more essential part of it.
Sure.
Sure, sure.
But people were already doing what I was contributing, like with the exception of that sort of insight to Tumblr and then insight into, like, except for that, like I said, that precision he was speaking with. People were already sort of making the points he was making in much more. I'm trying to think of the word here. Uh, in much more accurate ways, I guess you could say, much more apt
Yeah.
ways. They
I
like.
mean, there were even people like Camera Girl who were even going deeper than him. He was very good at sort of just getting what was put out there and on a more limited scale. But then Camera Girl, people like Camera Girl really dug in to a deeper problem, essentially.
I mean, like, no one can replace this sort of, and he was very good at comedy. Like, I sort of see him as a sort of almost comedic. Like, he did things with this wonderful charm, and I think that's what we're really missing is IA's charm. So, like, if someone can come up with that, like, yeah, he doesn't make his points, like, he doesn't make as good as points as others do, but he did with that sort of that lovable charm, and I think that's what we're really missing now. And I think that's what a lot of people miss about IA is that wonderful charm that he had.
Yeah.
Like, and I know not everyone sees that, but I think that those who really liked IA saw that. Like, not
Well, and
everyone,
I
of
and
course.
I and I liked IA when he did it. I was a fan of King of Pole when I went into his streams. I mean, he couldn't read for shit, but it was fun pointing it out.
Yeah,
There's a difference between watching his streams. To put it bluntly, some people shouldn't be on Twitter.
sure,
Yep.
Just avoid the parts you're bad at. Go for the parts you're good at.
absolutely.
And
And
then
and that was his
Shouldn't be on
problem.
Twitter.
Exactly, I think that was his problem with IA specifically is he went into areas he shouldn't have maybe gone in, and that's where he made a fool of himself. But yeah, I mean, we still have, like I said before, like, well, I said a while back, tis but a scratch. I mean, we have a lot of great people in the movement still. We're still building. We're still moving forward. We still have a lot of support. Like, so it's nothing to lose sleep over. Like, yeah, we don't
You know
invite
what really
anymore.
scares me about this whole Gamergate thing? There are people who, like the average layman, who just hear about it in the news and then assume you're all a band of, like, woman hating basement dwellers. And I find it, like, crazy depressing because if we don't have the support of the masses on our side, our cause is more or less doomed. And really think about it. Why would like a station like ABC or NBC or whatever the fuck it's called, why would they cover something on corruption and journalism when their news is more or less heavily biased towards a leftist agenda?
And not only that,
Like
but they
biting your own tail.
well, and not only that, but they use some of the same practices when you get into the MSNBCs, the Fox News, and and those various sources. They're clickbait on air.
Yeah, and let's be
That's
clear
how
here.
they
We're not
make
going to get the man on the street. Like, we're not going to make the man on the street a Gamergate supporter, because if his only sources of information are the mainstream media, and the mainstream media acts in an unethical way, there's no way we're going to sway their opinion with whatever we do, no matter what we do. So it's like the man on the street isn't going to support Gamergate by any stretch of the imagination. We just hope that they're apathetic enough to remain neutral, or stay out of it if they're against it. That's the best we can hope for with those sorts of individuals. Like, we're not trying to go to every one of the 7 billion people on the planet, but at the same time, we're not trying to.
I mean, we've got the attention of the FCC, haven't we? And that's done something in terms of forcing them to have ethical policies. We've done stuff in terms of reaching out to the advertisers, and that's touched them because, it's cost them in the pocket. So
And
we have, yeah.
Go ahead.
As long as we plant our flag, and stand our ground and don't get wiped out, and when everything shakes down, in the end, people will see what really happened.
Yeah.
People who are willing to look and honestly will see what really happened, and everyone else can just go fuck themselves.
Essentially, I
Dude,
mean,
on us contacting the people who advertise for these gaming websites, it's more or less like something that we should have started a long time ago. I mean, what kind of company would insult their major demographic? The people who they're like basically the people who feed you, clothe you. Why would you bite the hand that feeds you?
Well,
It doesn't make any sense why their websites are even still up and they continue to shit on gamers.
because they didn't see it as that.
That is
Because,
corporate suicide.
well,
When
it would.
Target came out
It
and
would be
said
if
that
that was their business model. That's the thing, though. You see, what then?
they're
We're not
counting
the
on your
customer.
clicks.
We're not the customer. It costs us nothing to visit Otaku to click on their links. Their customers are the advertisers, and
Yeah.
they're selling us our interest. They're selling our interest to their clients. Is
Right,
essentially
well-
what they're doing.
And there are Gawker.
We are the
Sorry.
And go,
of their customer. So we're the people who pay the people who pay them.
no.
Yeah, like a Gawker article, like a few Gawker articles has said in the past, were the products, So it's like they don't care what gamers think. They don't care what gamers have to say about games. What they care about and that's why there's been such a targeted media, like a targeted email campaign against advertisers, because we know that's what it's all about. We know it's not about us. That's why we've been focused on saying to these advertisers, hey, are you aware of what these people are saying? Are you aware of these people are doing to your demographic? Like Microsoft and like game companies. Do you see what they're saying about your audience? So maybe they don't care, but definitely the companies do. Definitely the companies care what their products are being associated with. Is these these very caustic articles towards gamers? So I mean that's what this email campaign is all about. We're not just emailing for the sake of our health. We're emailing because it's important to tell these people this is what your clients are doing.
and that's the big thing, I think, where the layman doesn't really matter. It's the consumer that matters to these companies, and that's why and that's partially why I say it's a capitalistic thing. It's not purely a capitalistic thing, but in terms of consumer provider relations, it's essentially the consumer telling the provider, hey, these middlemen aren't worth your time. Essentially.
No, exactly. They're doing a bad job at representing.
Des is right.
This
Des is
reminds
right because what the mistake that Des is talking about is the SJW's basic mistake. But the reason they don't see it is because it's one level beyond their range of vision.
Right.
They see the big money target, and they maybe see some shadows in the background that look like people with control sticks in their hands, and that's us. But they just can't focus on us. They don't. They're short-sighted. They're just fucking short-sighted, and why they're that's why they're
Have you
losing.
guys read like Mio's article on the Sexodus?
Which one? Which one in particular?
The Sexodus Part One, the one of
Um,
how all this SJW crap is turning traditional relationships into a very dangerous affair for the modern man.
oh,
I'm
Oh yeah.
that article. Yeah, I've
I'm 18, and right now, if I try anything like things that would have been considered affectionate and or passionate towards, let's say, a girl I admire, I would be considered a rapist, a sexual harasser, and all that. Instead of a boy who decides to be a bit adventurous. It's like
Mm.
what's happening in Japan. That's why, like, I was speaking to my friends this morning, why we food technology in Japan has jumped so far.
Yeah.
They are trying to simulate the real thing, but without the deadly costs of, like in
Yes.
the terms of marriage, divorce. You lose everything. You lose the right to see your children.
Right.
Mm.
You lose your house. Lose your money.
Right.
Dude, it ain't cool, man.
Right.
it
Yeah.
isn't, and
It ain't cool. And I don't get what this whole thing about like a girl drinks herself to oblivion, then she wakes up in the morning having had sex with like God knows how many guys, then she calls rape. If you know you're gonna be an unstable wreck who agrees to every little thing when you're drunk, don't drink yourself to oblivion. You can have a good time with a few drinks
Right.
without getting drunk. What is this?
This important.
Like these Stepford children are so annoying. Feel these. Oh, it gives me headaches, man.
This is why Gamergate is so important, because Gamergate is the only tool, the only weapon that works against them.
Yeah.
Because this fight is going on so many fronts, and it's the well-beings of young people everywhere
Mm,
that are at stake. It's due process for men who are accused of sexual assault. It's the parental rights of fathers. It's the right to at least be respected for the fact that if someone's going to go to war and
Mm.
die, it's probably going to be someone with a dick. So and Gamergate is the only enzyme that has eroded their power,
Yeah, and this is
and
why
that is
it's
why it's so.
no, and
Go
that's
ahead.
why it's so important to expand the movement. You know, is because we've proven to be an effective bulwark against the SJWs. That's why we need to start asking ourselves about these greater issues. Like,
and
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
and
Sorry.
it's actually why it's succeeding more and more. I mean, I even just a few months ago, I couldn't imagine, Rolling Stones putting out an apology for an article on rape where they don't talk to the accused. Well, guess what? Rolling Stones in
Yeah.
just released an apology for just that, for an article they ran where they basically didn't do their research. People called their shit out on it, including major publications like the Washington Times, and they had to apologize. So I mean, if there's any lingering question on it, if this is a good tool to use to sort of correct the errors of the SJW, it's working, quite
Yeah.
frankly.
the agenda of the SJW is based on their origins. I wrote a post a while back for the page Fuck Feminism 3, I think. I wrote it out of anger, but it was spot on truth. What I wrote was so a bunch of white entitled rich kids don't know how to do anything, don't know any how to relate or do anything. They go to college, waste tons of money on some useless ass degree. They come out of college without a job, and then they can't do anything else but delve into mainstream things like media, games, and all that. And when they get there, they're like, this is not how daddy would have made it for me. So they try to co-opt it
Mhm.
to make it suit their purposes. But by them
Yeah.
co-opting it, dude, they are killing the industry. Like they are straight up murdering it. I mean, like, what the fuck is gone home? one game. It's not even a fucking game, man.
It's
Anyway, so
well, okay.
like,
Well, Depression Quest is a better example of that. Depression Quest doesn't actually have any game mechanics or anything like that.
hey
So
dude, should we write an HTML5 game? I may be a
Depends
little
on choose
rusty,
your
but
own
I can still
adventure
use
and
front page
full
quite
expression.
effectively.
there's if you want a really good one, there's Oppression Quest. I mean, it's shorter than Depression Quest, but it's excellent.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah. And there's the Vivian and James one coming out. So sometime I will get round to the idea of maybe fiddling about a jokey game. But I mean, while things are still rolling on, I'm going to stick doing that really because it's what I'm best at. Anything
Mm.
else would just
Bros, don't you guys think that the redrawing of the Holy Bible, like for the GTA 5 thing, is a bit extreme?
It's
I'm. Don't get me wrong. I'm totally against them pulling Target Australia pulling GTA 5 from their stores because of this. Yeah, it promotes sexual violence against women. GTA 5 promotes violence against everything that moves. Either you post it all or
Yeah,
none at all.
That's a very apt description, sir.
well,
Yeah.
it
Like it's just
it
for
promotes
fun.
imaginary violence.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
remember when people were flipping out over the hatred trailer?
Oh yeah,
You
it's
wanna hear something interesting? It's over a subject which these white entitled children are touchy about. School shootings, kids going berserk and all that.
yeah.
But dude, check this out. Around this time, you know how the trailer was released around like there was a school shooting every month or two, which I find very disturbing. But let's take the clock back. Remember when Modern Warfare was released? Do you remember like that era?
I agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and like
vaguely.
it was still during the Iraq War and all that. Someone saying somewhere in Iraq or Afghanistan might have been offended by the game because they're sort of like taking a play at what is their person's 24/7.
Well, in military games, I mean that's been um, one of I mean the whole reason why the newest Call of Duty had to shift to some comical Bond plot was because of concerns over oh well it's just another they had gotten the reputation of oh it's just shooting brown people game essentially.
Dude, I don't know about you, but every time I played any Modern Warfare 1 or 2, I always picked up 4.
Yeah, I mean, I
What?
never got into those games myself. I mean, I'm actually one who happens to agree that most of the brown shooters, or the muddy toned shooters were, just a bit too fascinated with going to foreign countries that the U.S. didn't happen to like and shooting up, soldiers. So, you know,
It's an interesting term, the brown shooters. It sounds like something else. I can really.
Yeah,
What kind of games are these?
Yeah.
They sound disgusting. What's
come to think of it,
Yeah,
in every Modern Warfare, the enemy happens to be either a current or past enemy of the US. In Modern Warfare 1, it was up for. They were like some terrorist group. And then I think in the middle of Modern Warfare 2, still up for plus the Russians, like they like apparently started
yeah.
World War 3 or
mm,
something. It was
yeah.
like what would have happened if the Cold War had gone south? And
And
then
I
like
mean, I mean, like it ended up to like where Mexico was stealing a secret satellite so that they could, you know,
Yeah.
um, bomb
It's
the U.S. or
we
something
don't
like
talk
that.
about ghosts. Ghosts were shit.
yeah. It
We don't
was.
talk about
That's what I
ghosts.
heard.
I'm sorry if you have any love for Call of Duty Ghosts, please. Like not now. It
No. Yeah, if any of you 7 people watching have been offended at, sorry.
Wow, 7 people. That's really excellent.
yeah. Well, I'm one of them, but the fellows in chat seem pretty nice. They seem pretty cool people. So
Good.
we got some good audience out there. Shout
can
out to
we
you guys.
talk about Brianna Wu, please? Because
Well,
I could,
Good. Yeah.
we could. I mean, what has she done now that's extremely grown worthy that you know.
You know how
Well,
she's an SJW and all that.
yeah,
Yeah.
She sees Bayonetta as a role model, and then she follows feminist frequency. Do you see the conflicting ideas or ideologies?
Oh,
Half the
I saw a very
SJWs don't
interesting.
know what they want. They don't know.
no,
I
Like
saw
and
a
it
very
looks
literally, they
like
don't know.
interesting, actually. I saw a very interesting post where where Wu had, or Wu, or maybe it was
mm,
Park. I'm not sure if it was Wu or Park was saying, oh, I totally love Bayonetta, and then then one of her followers,
yes,
challenged her and like,
Oh
well,
yeah, I
you're,
saw that today. And she blocked the follower.
yeah,
yeah.
that one. So yeah,
I saw another interesting one today. There was actually no, it was a podcast, a YouTube by V Monroe, and he was saying basically that he'd been talking about it the other day, but he hadn't really looked close enough and noticed that the screenshot she'd taken, where she was complaining about people had faked her dog as an account and had what was the word, harassed her by saying, "Oh, I'm totally Gamergate now," and using an account based on this dead dog of hers. And he
Oh yeah.
pointed to it and said, "Look, this screenshot has been taken 1 second after this post has been posted."
Well, it's like
she
those
does it
Kevin
all the
Dobson
time.
tweets, like that. Those
Yeah,
Kevin Dobson tweets are taking 4 seconds, and then she magically screen capped them. It was Nina
yeah,
Sarkeesian I'm talking about. Yeah, so it's like it's the same thing. They make up these totally fake harassment to continue this narrative to keep going.
mm,
That we're all harassers, that we're all misogynists, and we're all after them. They
It
need to they
still
need to create it.
it
I
still
do.
irks me that Brianna Wu is her parents are filthy fucking rich, and they gave her was it $200,000 or $1 million when she finished college?
200,000. Yeah.
200,000.
Two
Yeah.
hundred thousand,
Yeah.
and she has the balls, the nuts, literally.
Mm,
Ron Flint has the nuts to come and call all of us who work hard and or have to try hard, or some of us who don't
mm.
even have the money, so we have to pirate gamers. They call us privileged and assume we're all white. Do you know where I'm from?
Well, no,
I
where,
am
where?
from Ghana, West Africa.
Oh,
Oh, there
Yeah,
we go.
well, welcome. I think you're the farthest guest we've had.
Yeah.
Mm,
I live in the U.S. now because like I'm schooling in the U.S. But
Okay.
like I can't stand it when these SJWs try to co-opt everything, try to kill things that I find fun. I am a
yeah.
gamer from
Yeah.
across the planet. You could make all the Ebola jokes. I do not find them offensive, even though part of my family is Liberian. So like like just chill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's people like that. They're going to be a reality because, well, there is a current. There are scum suckers out there who will do it. And we can't get rid of them. But the most we can do is to tell them play by the same rules as everyone else, or just shut up.
Mm.
I think the thing is they are extremely guilty when they find themselves being rude to the people that they're supposedly want to protect and promote or whatever. And I think that's when their cognitive dissonance really snaps in, and that's why they get so nasty because that's all they've got. They've got 5 or 6 reasons why they can justify being rude to, like, especially like the LGBT community and women. They didn't really know what to do there, and with the feminists especially when they ran into women against feminism, they kind of don't know what to do with them. So
Yeah.
they dismiss them. They say you're not real, you don't exist. It's always
That's
you are not what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and
It's
that's part of that dogmatic faith element, right? It's that element of
Mm,
I'm going to blot out my vision, and in the case of LGBTQ, they started just saying that it's only gay men that are doing this, and gay men are more misogynistic than straight men. They just went on this. They made up a new narrative where they're actively fighting against gay men now. Like,
Which, I mean, is easy to do given that they have such a loose, ideology to begin with. I mean, you can blame anything on the patriarchy. Hell, people have blamed snoring on the patriarchy, and I don't make that
Yeah,
up.
yeah, no,
recently.
it's true. I've
Yeah,
seen it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
But
mean,
it's
Yeah,
exactly right. The point Ian you make about cognitive dissonance and their venom, because everything they do is angry and it at least intends to be destructive.
mm,
angry
And
is
we
blind
know. I mean, it's
rage,
common.
no direction.
Yeah,
mm.
it's common knowledge at this point that anger is always a reaction to perceived helplessness. It's when they know they're losing that they're angry, and they're always angry. So they're on their back heels. We just have to push them back. Just push them
Bro,
back.
have you ever seen a cornered rat fight back?
No.
It will
No.
thrash and thrash and thrash, then and it dies pitifully. That's how their movement's gonna end up.
Well, on that note, I gotta head out. So
All right. Well,
hopefully,
thank you very much for coming. That
yeah.
was
Thanks for having me on,
Thanks,
Micho, Robert. Thanks for everyone
Yeah.
taking the time to listen. But and thanks to chat out there for listening. We're on 3 hours now, but it's late and I gotta go to sleep. So good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Good
night,
night.
mate. Yeah, it is getting on. I'm flicking through in the background, looking at some Warhammer 40k pictures just on a website.
Oh,
Models people have
I've
made.
heard it looks good. Like, does it play well, or have you heard anything about it, or
Dude, which
Oh,
40k game?
the new one that just came out?
Wait,
the new one.
is it a new one that's like so is it like a continuation of Dawn of War?
It's
Something
not.
like that.
Dawn of
Is it
War is
like
really good.
tabletop? Is it that one which like tabletop on PC with like limited animations, or it's like
Yeah,
Dawn of
yeah.
War? Is that one?
It's like that. What it is, it's a hex-based thing, and
Oh
it's
damn!
turn-based as well, and it's
Ooh.
quite limited. So like your blocks are representing a group of troops this time, or a group of tanks.
Oh, so like
I've
Age of
seen, I've
Wonder.
seen that. I've seen that one.
Yeah,
Dude,
it's like
they should
Panzer
bring back
General
Dawn of War.
combined with Warhammer.
Man, I miss BattleTech.
Yeah.
They should really bring back Dawn of War. Dawn of
Yeah.
War Soulstorm was modded to oblivion. Like sometimes I play with my friends, like the Total Apocalypse mod.
Right.
It
Yeah.
is complete chaos.
Yeah. It is a great game. I've got one of which one? I think I've got the other day.
Dawn of War 2.
Warhammer 40,000, just Dawn of War, the basic thing. And yeah, that was great. Even with just like the simple Chaos Troops, all the vanilla stuff. Just fucking love it.
Yeah, dude, that's how they should make their games, man.
Yeah. Yeah. There used to be a very, very good one called Warhammer Final Liberation that gave you. It was hard to explain. It was a little bit like Advance Wars, and a little bit like XCOM in how it went down. And you basically march your troops in a sort of battle type thing. You deploy, then the battle starts, then you each get a turn, and your boys try and take out theirs try and take out yours.
Oh
And
no
you
no no
play
no
as
no, no.
people.
Dude. Dawn of War Soulstorm. It wasn't turn based. It was real time.
Mm.
So you had to
Oh,
work fast.
yeah,
And like
yeah,
my friend and I, we always had like this trick where we build a forwarding base like 50 miles south or north.
yeah.
And like after we had annihilated each other's main base, we were like, okay, let's retreat to our forwarding base. And like the fog of war, right?
Yeah.
Like as I was building my troops, like my barracks and stuff, I put
Yeah.
like a generator in the middle, and I saw that he had built his base on the other side of the fog of war, and we were like, we were so close. We were like, well,
Hello. Should we
it
better
became
start this again?
you're like, yeah. But like we just broke down and started building. Who could build like turrets faster to take each other's base out?
That
It was
reminds
really
me of
nasty.
the Total Annihilation games, Total Annihilation Kingdoms. There was one lot there that one particular tribe of faction of them, and they had what was it? They had these big trebuchet ships that you could build moderately early on. You could just like build these things and build these things once you got your production sorted. And from anywhere on the map, they could artillery anywhere else. From then on, it was just a question of throwing things in the distance and just targeting things on the mini map rather than actually looking or scouting or doing anything with
Dude,
troops.
that's
And it was
exactly
wonderful.
how the Chaos Storm plays in the Ultimate Apocalypse mod.
Yeah.
You have to wait like half a minute. Is it a minute or like 2 or 5? Then like you could spawn a Chaos Storm and like control it all over the map, and it acted as vision as well as it did damage. So like all I had to do just estimate your general area of residence, and then fuck you up slowly.
Yes. Yeah, and then you can't work out anything where anything's coming from. Really, you don't. It's hard to organise a defence.
And
If
then I
you could
usually
have
flank my friend with like 2 Titans.
time, fantastic. Sorry, I'm sound a bit distant because I'm looking around on Steam in the background. I'm desperate tonight to actually get at least an hour or something in on Space Engineers because they had another update yesterday and I haven't looked at it this week. So there'll be all new stuff in it.
Yeah.
And it, plus, Gamergate really has kicked my gaming in the arse.
I think it has for everyone, which is which is ironic, really.
It is. But hopefully this will the companies will notice this and think, well, there hasn't been as much server traffic all the time that Gamergate's been on. So perhaps we all better ought to step in and do something because they'll know that that's eventually going to turn into sales coming down. They don't want that.
Yo, bros, have you seen the mad woman horrifying monsters that are coming from Dragon Age Inquisition's character creator?
No.
I haven't seen much from it just because I'm still stuck basically in Dragon Origins or Origins 2.
Dragon Age Origins 2.
So I'm trying to play that all the way through before I even touch Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah.
I think a week ago they gave Dragon Age Origins for free.
Yeah, that's where I got it from.
Yeah.
Oh.
Everything broke up there.
Oh, there we go. Des, you still with us?
Yep, I'm still here.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Yo.
Things broke up a bit there.
Wait, which one of you guys got me hooked on Vaporwave? Big Snout, I'm looking at you, man.
That probably possibly was me. Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed to float past, as it were. Never really ran into it as such. I think basically it started with the Internet Aristocrat picture, and then there was sort of King of Pole picture. So I think I've been sort of dragged into it from that because there was a picture of the Internet Aristocrat with his face on a bust, like a stone statue of bust, with a checkerboard pattern and some blue stuff in the background, and that was done as a tribute picture to it. And then I discovered that that was a sort of vaporwave meme. And then I went and had a look at some of these sites, and I thought, oh yeah, this is kind of quite trippy. This has all these weird classical aesthetics, which kind of fit with the zeitgeist
like,
of the time.
It hits me like retrowave, man.
Yeah. I really to this day don't know quite what I see in it, and I'm not super into it, but I kind of like it. I'm getting more into it. I'm gonna have a fiddle at doing some, and again, but it's this Gamergate thing. It keeps me so busy on everything. I can be foraging for content all day long. Sorry, man, you're saying?
Are any of your handles on the GG block list?
Oh, I'm on two block lists so far. Hopefully I can, get a few more. I need to get that free sandwich from the GG snack bar.
Is it? Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I think I am on one at least. I found my name on one of them at about page 4 or something. It got to the stage quite late on where everyone was saying, "Oh, you've got to be on the block list. You've got to be on the block list." So I thought, "Oh, well, I'll have it." But I really don't do a lot on Twitter. I just retweet, really. Well, that's all I do, really, at all. Just move stuff from A to B. I'm a glorified lorry driver for bits of text.
The only thing Twitter is good for is
shit!
For boosting your own signal to
Holy
people who are
shit!
interested in listening.
You're right.
I just saw this like shock image and like I sort of pseudo metaphorically crapped my pants.
What?
Bruh, that's some scary ass motherfucking shit.
Where?
I'm sharing it right now so you'll see
All
it.
right. Yeah, I see. Sorry.
God damn.
I thought it's something I'd done or something.
Well, I see. I really like. I actually kind of like Twitter. Like I
Yeah.
used to hate it, but now I like it just because it's really easy to communicate. Surprisingly,
Dude, the one
Yeah.
the 140 or 120 limit is really troublesome though.
it is. It is. I hate that, but that's when you start doing multiple posts and being that really lame tweeter.
Yeah. I don't understand it. I don't know who's talking to me or whatever, and so I'll nip on for an hour, post a bunch of stuff, and bugger off again. And it's like Google Plus. I don't know quite how that works, but I'm up there spamming stuff. Facebook is my home.
But how did Gone Home get a green light?
Oh, they fix all that. There's whole groups where they just greenlight each other's stuff.
Yeah,
They just
That's like
scam the system.
which I mean is which is completely unfair, given that there's not enough content for even a $5 game with Gone Home.
wasn't Gone Home like $25 or something?
It was like 15 or something like that, or
What the fuck?
maybe it lowered in price to 15.
The thing that baffles me about Gone Home is they seem to be going on about how special they think it is.
It's only because the protagonist is a fucking lesbian.
That's
Yeah.
that's exactly right. But
The story is poorly written.
but
Dude,
if there's
I have
anything-
seen fourth graders who write better than that.
It's
if
a
there's
bit
anything good
it's a
about
bit
it, it's that it's sort of superficially similar in form to Myst.
yeah.
Myst is good because
I think that's
know,
the thing that got me.
Mm.
That and the
Yeah.
red herrings. But apparently, I'm a masochist for enjoying the red herrings.
Missed rock though. Nice.
Oh, and as I browse through my feed, I see a Kotaku article. BioWare put a lot of work into Dragon Age's trans character.
I bet
I
they
remember-
did.
I remember when Dragon Age Origin rolled it out as a selling point. I was like,
Yeah.
really? You're going to use a trans character as a selling point, and you think you're being inclusive? A selling point? Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I suppose that's what they've asked for. It's not them who are thinking that. It's what the SJW's asked for. We have to have more of these. We have to have more representation.
Okay,
Well,
Bro,
sure, but I mean, what is more inclusive? Using these things as selling points to move units, or to just put it in there, not
bitch about it.
not bitch about it, and then have people discover it, and when people ask, it's like, oh yeah, we include them. I mean, trans people are normal human beings, right? That would be actually a fantastic move for a game company to make.
Well, perhaps it's
I mean,
because
like
they know that
Microsoft
SJWs
Insomniac did with Sunset
so-
Overdrive.
Well, Sunset Overdrive is just a fantastic game, I have to
Dude.
say.
I may get an X-Bone just because of that game.
Yeah.
No offense to you X-Bone fans.
I'm just waiting till I'm just hoping for the day it comes out on PC, because it looks like it would honestly be better on PC.
You know, there was a leak that it would come out on PC. Like, I think it was at the launch or something that they accidentally showed it was supposed to be coming out on PC or something. It was a big issue.
They later, I checked into that because I saw that too, but the company came out and said, no, that was just a mistake. We don't have any plans of porting it right now. That's not in the future, at least in the foreseeable future.
Oops,
But
could you right
man-
back? I've got to make another cup of tea. I'm flagging a bit. Drifting off a bit there. Back in a tick.
Do you know another disturbing trend amongst SJWs?
Oh,
How they all seem to like jump to Islam, saying it's very freeing, and I'm like,
really?
it.
They do that?
Yes, like they think Islam is freeing and like it's cleansing and all that. I'm like, bruh, really?
Well,
I think
Like,
they're attracted to the totalitarianism.
I think they're
no,
just.
these are people who
I think they're
complain
attracted to
about
the
being
anti-West.
oppressed. I think that's their fantasy. They want to be oppressed because if they
Well,
seems
well,
to hold women in to some lower regard, it's fucking Islam, man.
well. Two. I mean, I actually defend Islam just because it's a completely different cultural system. So
Yes, I understand.
um, yes, to our Western mindset, it seems a bit backwards to do the things that they do. But then again, it to conservative Christians, I just read a story on Facebook where this
Dude, I'm
woman.
from West Africa. I know backwards. Trust me on this one.
Oh, and you're bound to have a different perspective. I mean, I'm coming from a more academic, had a course or two on um, sort of historical Islam. So I mean, it is bound to be a little bit um, not based off in experience. So I freely admit that, of course. But it's like I recently saw a story where a woman wasn't allowed to be a pallbearer at a conservative Christian U.S. funeral because she was a woman. So it's not that far off from things that they that people claim Islam just categorically does.
True.
I think a part of their sort of functional acceptance of Islam is it comes from fear and laziness. I think they see it as something that is that if it could, it would chop their heads off as if they were a poisonous snake. And on the other hand, it's so far away that I think it's a little bit beyond the capacity of the SJW to think about. It's outside of the sphere beyond which their imagination is able to reach. And plus, in white countries, SJWs, they have no economic interest in helping women in Islamic countries. I mean,
Yes,
there's
that's
no money. Yeah,
bro, bros. Let me share a
there's
video
just
with you. Like
It's
I mean,
this
the fact
woman.
their refusal to criticize Islam just it lays bare all of their sort of internal weaknesses.
yeah, certainly.
Okay, I can't find the video, but there's this woman from an Islamic country who is like campaigning against third wave feminism because it's frankly stupid. It's a bunch of whiny babies complaining about how the world is not their perfect fantasy. You get what I'm saying? How
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
real issues out there that need to be addressed. Dude, do you know that genital mutilation is actually like for females actually a real thing? In
Well,
my
and
country of Ghana, it is done a lot in the north, and it's considered traditional and like
yeah,
most of the time they do it involuntarily, and it can cause serious problems. Like it spreads STDs, unclean blades, it causes infections. Sometimes the girls even bleed to death. Very, very depressing.
I mean it's
And here they complain about how there's no otherkin transgender fluid
yeah,
transformer Optimus Prime bathroom.
yeah.
What a world we live in, man. World.
Yeah.
It's really and I mean personally, I think it's a bit of a cop out to just say that any strongly tradition driven society, such as some Islamic, such as some or most even Islamic nations, is just anti woman. I just think it's just restrictive in general. I mean, yeah, genital mutilation, at least from what I've come to understand. I mean, of course, Des, you probably can give a more informed opinion on this, but male genital mutilation as well is enforced in
Yeah.
some extreme
Some places.
examples,
Yeah.
as well as things where men must work for the family in some countries, which is why they get the education and girls are locked out. So I mean, it's personally,
Yeah, there's a
I'd say it's more a problem of traditionalism rather than misandry or simple misandry or misogyny.
Yeah.
well,
I think that
yeah, but
men in Islamic countries have got it bad too. You know,
Everyone,
just like men in,
everyone
yeah. I mean,
prospectively has it bad.
mm,
just like everywhere else around the world, it's the men who are used as appliances. It's the men that have to
mm,
go out and lift rocks with their anymore. Um,
mm,
but we because we're sort of hardwired to protect women first, we see them in burqas, and we see them being the victims of honor killings, and being punished for being raped. We see that first, and we say, oh well, they're completely anti-woman. They're completely anti-freedom, and
True.
yeah,
and and everyone is fucked over there. The only people that have it good are the people who like it, and the only happiness they have is their liking it, which is a kind of mental illness that
Speaking
comes
of
from
anti,
religion.
did you guys watch how ISIS burnt like a ton of cigarettes and alcohol?
No, but that seems right up their alleyway.
Yep.
At least it's not humans. I mean, if you're going to burn something, burn an American flag or burn cigarettes and alcohol or burn, burn dogs if you want. But, it's better than reporters.
No, they
yeah,
decapitate those.
Yeah.
yeah,
They have a very strict like regimen when it comes to stuff they should do. They're like,
yeah,
Wahid, we burn books, alcohol, cigarettes. The reporters we decapitate. Get it right, Wahid.
yeah.
Yeah,
Then Wahid burns a few reporters, and I'm like, God damn it, Wahid. Allah damn it, Wahid. You had one job.
One job. Yeah,
Allah damn it, you had one job.
it is kind of like that. It is kind of like that. There has to be laws that are met before they will do anything nasty. They have to have this reason, and once it's there, they'll do exactly as literally the Quran says. It's all really literal, and that's the sort of problem. They don't
You see, that
mean to
that's
be
the thing with
cruel. They're
religion
told.
nowadays. People take the interpretation literally.
Mm.
Yeah, and I mean it's actually really interesting. It's interesting, like doing a broader study of Islamic history, because there's no just one form of Islam. And it's almost political rather than religious.
The
It
Shiite
seems.
and the Sunni.
Right, with the Shia and the Sunni, or like the differences between Indian and Iranian, and
Iranian
Protestant and
and
Catholic
Iraqi.
or something.
yeah. I mean, it's
That's a big
very
one.
different.
Bloody annoying.
Aren't the Shiite the more radical Muslims?
I'm not sure which one is more radical. I know both of them have done things against each other. I know that their conflict is a little BS um, if you ask most people. Like, it's more or less, about a issue of leadership, hundreds of years ago. So, I mean, it's a little fruitless at this point.
I think the Sunni Shia split is literally goes back to the sort of death of the Prophet and deciding who takes on afterwards.
Well,
Um,
it I think it's I mean, it sort of starts the major started there, but it cooks up about around the fourth caliphate, and then it's only later on where the parties really form. So, I
right.
mean,
So
yes
before
and
was
no.
it the Ottoman Caliphate? It wasn't a big violent situation, and after that it became all hell.
Well, more or less. I mean,
Yeah.
the power vacuums after the death of the prophet, don't really go away. It's kind of all violent.
Yeah.
Reminds me a lot about back in the Middle Ages where there were wars over over who should be pope.
Mm, yeah.
Bishop would raise army against bishop for the pope seat.
Yeah, Europe did a lot as well. And
It was pretty much like God has chosen me for this. No, God has chosen me for this because I have a bigger army.
Yes.
yeah,
I wonder when it went back to like equilibrium and like people, it was rather appointed instead of like let me annihilate this guy so that I can become the pope.
Well, I
I think
expect it
that's
was them to.
something the pope wouldn't do.
I expect it was the First and Second World War. Well, the Napoleonic War probably changed everything.
it the time difference would have to be. I mean, Napoleonic War, you're dealing, with at least 300 years since.
Really? Oh, since yes.
Well, yeah. So I mean, it's more. I maybe European trade when Europeans start when Muslims start dominating in world trade. That's when things sort of heated up, kind of,
Right. Yeah.
and they started expanding, and Spain happened and everything like that.
Yeah. Because I suppose it wasn't until Martin Luther that they sort of that there was a Protestant church. Thinking about it.
Well, and Martin Luther and the Europeans have their own history of religious violence that's actually very akin. I mean, Arab and European history isn't very much different if you want to get general.
True.
Le Crusades.
Which kind of really don't figure next to Islamic
It's
events.
funny because when we speak crusade, I think I'd be more on the Turk and like Islamic side because back then they were a race of scholars and scientists, very very progressive.
Mm.
Like if they could see what modern radical Muslims are doing, like they're all anti-knowledge, anti-vaccination, all that, they would cry. Because, dude, a lot of great astronomers, mathematicians, and scientists, like pre-Renaissance times, even during the Middle Ages, a lot of them were Arabic.
Mm. Well,
They were like seekers of great knowledge and all that. And you should watch you know that Neil deGrasse Tyson show, The Cosmos, right?
mm.
You know how like in between explaining how the universe is, there are tidbits back to time where people were less, advanced. Yeah, back then the early scholars were Arabic, very progressive individuals.
Yeah, but where was the knowledge from? At that time, they'd conquered most of the Middle East and like the Eastern world, and they'd been into India, they'd been into places like Greece, they'd had contact, they'd taken down the the Southern Empire of Rome and everything. A
Yeah,
lot of
well,
people think that they just
I
adopted
mean,
this stuff and
it
didn't
came
really
from.
invent it as such.
It came from a lot of different sources. Of course, got a bunch of the a bunch of the Greek texts through the Romans. But the bigger thing, as actually the comment section is pointing out, was trade. It sort of developed on its own naturally because
Yeah, there
they
was constant movement back and forth throughout the East, along the Silk routes and that,
Mm,
I
yeah.
suppose. Yeah.
wait, wasn't
Yeah.
wasn't the discovery of America due to looking a way to find a bypass around along those routes?
I think
Um,
so, yeah,
kind
to
of.
an
I mean,
extent.
Yeah.
to an extent. I mean, Columbus. There was different projects going around. So the more direct one was actually going around Africa. Um, but
Right.
what Columbus Columbus wasn't actually very important comes to turn out. I mean, he died a pauper essentially.
Mm.
So it wasn't until later when you see his hero status come through revisionist history.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, he was trying to search for a way to India, basically in a radically different direction.
Which probably would have been quite mad at the time.
Well, I mean, it wasn't even a very good route. I mean,
No.
it's telling that he needed help from. I mean, the Thanksgiving story is largely false, but if it's one thing that's true, there was at least some communication between natives and Europeans. It was just that the natives, it wasn't as friendly as the
Because they make
story
out.
depicts it. Yeah.
Dude, when it comes pound for pound, we should honor the natives of the native residents of America, because good God, did they get the short end of the stick in America's history, man?
Yeah, to an extent. And
To an
again,
extent,
that's a
it's being
thing.
overcompensated now, majorly overcompensated.
I don't know how overcompensated it could be because I mean they're still on the brink of fucking extinction.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like
You know,
it's almost impossible to find a truly Native American person, man.
yeah.
Dude, they're rare.
Uh,
Like, have
Yeah.
you have you ever met one before?
I
Did you
I
have?
ha- I have. I mean, but when you have that much mixing, I mean,
Oh,
you can't. I mean, pure these days is
very rare.
it is very rare, even among European populations. White wasn't always this broad political term. Uh, nor nor what is it necessarily true that um, blacks were always not mixing with whites. So it's race itself is it's right now it's going there's this radical shift, at least genetically, away from the term race, because it's getting more and more impossible to tell who's purely something. It's largely a phenotypical one now.
Let's see. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that's what should happen, but you watch. Feminists will find some way to invent it all. They'll go around with little colour charts everywhere, deciding who gets to talk.
Well, at least some people will. Not. I
And
mean,
feminists are like, have you heard they're saying about like how you can't make a great important discovery or some shit like that if you happen to be white, a white male?
oh, I've heard all sorts of lovely uh, racially
Dudes,
Go
can
and
you
get
hold
some
on? I'm going to get a tangerine. I'll be back.
uh,
Tumblr. They have hours and hours of free time to look up new lunacies on Tumblr.
that's cool.
well, I'm pleased that they finally said it, because now I can stop trying. Now that
Yeah.
I know. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been trying to, I'm gonna write a great novel someday. Well, now I can stop trying because I'm white and I'm male. So,
Yeah. It
Yeah,
won't count. What's the point?
I can just,
you can just
yeah,
float
I
on
can just
by
get
on the
back to
winds
fucking
of
myself.
you can go float on by on the winds of privilege, don't you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's no doubt
yeah.
exactly what they want. People not to bother anymore.
My patriarchy checks are gonna start coming in any day now, and then I'm really
Yeah.
gonna start coasting.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
gonna be
I'm
sweet.
still. Do you guys have your membership cards? I seem to, I asked for a renewal like 3 months ago,
Mhm.
and they haven't sent my renewed card.
Perhaps they've gone bust. They
Well,
haven't told
hopefully
us.
not. I need my free sandwiches from the patriarchy shop.
Yeah.
I think I was spotted wearing a hat that somebody thought was a little bit gay, and I got kicked out. So I think that's it for me.
Oh,
It's the
okay. Well,
Patriarchy. Yeah.
This is masculine. It's their grasses. They see us all pouncing around over on Gamergate wearing pink and green, and they think, "Hello,
Uh-huh.
that lot have gone a bit funny. What's all happening over there? Why are you all in pink? You turned into feminists or something?" Because it's the same colours as feminist frequency. You see. Mm.
wait. What's the same colors as feminist frequency?
Gamergate. this purpley greeny colour. She uses
Oh.
same colours on her channel.
Is that true?
Oh,
It is true, yeah.
it is. I just realized that.
Do we
Hey,
want that?
welcome Anita Sarkeesian. Welcome
Colours
Anita.
of rape. Yes.
Welcome Anita Sarkeesian to Gamergate. You're wearing our colors, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's not the same color. She's got purple and blue. It's the background. No, she's purple and blue. We're fine.
Okay, phew. We were about to be associated with man haters.
Yeah.
The thing is, whenever they say that thing about the colours of rape, I always flash up a picture of the feminist frequency, and I might adjust it a little bit to say, look, well, she's using exactly the same colours. Perhaps she's using a rape joke as well, and it does actually shut some of them up. It almost sounds like
Yeah,
one of
but
their
it
good
does.
points, and there's enough for some of them.
Well, some of them don't have a logical retort. You know,
No.
they're like the doubting Christian who once you challenge their narrative, you know, suddenly they don't have a logical retort, so they can't really say anything. So
Like,
Carry on.
like a reed in the wind. Yeah.
They get so unskeptical that they can't even recognise how to respond to logic because it's just so distant.
They're always just bowled over
say,
by
hang
a
on, what you
wall.
just said is a fallacy.
Yeah, they're like someone in the like a low level person in the military just doing whatever the last person told them to do.
Yeah.
oh
Literally.
dear Lord, the SJW military. That's a scary thought.
No, it isn't a scary thought. That's the whole point. It's only a scary thought if you have to command them. Ooh. This
Oh,
lot will shoot each other within 20 minutes.
oh, okay. Well, I mean, I suppose if you put Sarkeesian and Chu on the, you know, on the same, and the same, commanding the same regiment, but you know.
Yeah. As soon as the food runs out, they'll eat each other. Even before the
Yeah.
food runs out. Just
Asshole first.
asshole first. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they're nice, those Tyranids. I think if I had the money to build an army, I'm like, it wouldn't be Tyranids. Probably be Tau or Eldar.
Oh yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Nice and colourful, but not boring like the Tyranids. I'm gonna have to log off soon. I mean,
Alright.
it's 4:39 in the UK.
I'm back.
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's going on, what, 4 hours now, or something like that.
Oh god, that's too much. See, I wear myself out with these things, and then the next day I just can't get anything bloody done.
Sorry.
No problem, dude.
Anyway, so seems we're gonna end it here, or
Probably. Well, I'm going to steal off because it doesn't make sense anymore. It's what's it? 4:40 in the morning here in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten to it's a natural cutout point, I think.
Yeah. Do we have any viewers left? Brave souls.
We actually have eight viewers. Wow, that's
Wow.
impressive.
Yeah, that is for us. Yeah. You know. But it is for any starting that podcast.
8 people we ministered to.
All right. Well,
Yeah. Well, good night then, lads. It's been
Good night.
a real pleasure. Very enjoyable.
It's been
thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Um,
Deal.
I guess on that note, I think thanks everyone for coming out. All 8 of you. That's No, that's really good. If you guys missed it, I know this one is going to be a little short. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I mean it's a you can you can sort of I guess watch the archived version once it comes up, and yeah, we will be back next week with more people and
More chat.
more chat, I guess.
And don't forget to check your privileges, kiddos.
Yep, and email you suck. So
Yeah. And we'll be using probably open broadcast next time, so it might be all whistles and bells. Who knows? Might be
yeah,
much
so that is a good note. I am switching clients to something that Robin pointed me to. So we'll try that out next week, and hopefully it works. With that, I bid you good night, and see you next week.
good.
Bye.
All right. Nighty night.
Subscribe, like, and